Hello everyone, welcome to the 6th episode of the MCU Ranked review, where every week the three of us review every single Marvel movie in order, then rank them from the best to the worst. I am your host, Hoodie. To my right, 17th heir to the throne, but first heir to our hearts, Zero.
That's me.
And to my left, he once dressed in a pink catsuit and strutted in front of hundreds of people, Kaiser.
That was a funny day.
I wouldn't say hundreds, but yes.
Collectively, I mean, you did the show a couple times.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
Guys, the show is brought to you by our Patreon, patreon.com/KatoYT. If you head on over there and pledge just a single $1, then you could be watching the show one whole week earlier, and if you pledge a little more, you could be watching the exclusive Spider-Man version of this series. But enough of that. This week, we assembled the Earth's mightiest heroes with the Avengers. Now, guys, I gotta be honest. I watched this movie about 3 months ago, so I'm sure I've seen this movie more than 3 times, but the 3 times I'm going to harp on are the first time I watched it, the time 3 months ago, and then I watched it again today. Now, the first time I watched it, I thought it was great, of course. I mean, everyone did.
Yeah.
Now, 3 months ago, I watched it with you, Kaiser, actually. Well, not with you, but we watched it.
Right, but we watched it at the same time.
Yeah, and then discussed a little bit, and I came out of that lukewarm. You know, I said, yeah, it was good, but not as good as I remember it being, and I had a lot of issues with it. Overall, I would just call it disappointing. Then I watched it again today, and I don't know what I was talking about. This was good. This was a good movie. I don't know. I don't know what 3 months ago me was on about, because I really enjoyed myself. I don't know if you guys have any similar trajectories of opinions with this, but
well. So for me, it's like I saw it the first time, and yeah, like everybody, I thought it was great. And then I think this is the Marvel movie I've seen most often. I've seen this 3 or 4 times probably, because it was on Netflix for a little while. Mm-hmm. And the way I see it is like, you know, everybody jokes about how Infinity War is like the most ambitious crossover of all time and whatever. But I actually think this was the most ambitious crossover, because to me, this was like the make it or break it point for Marvel. Like, if this movie did bad, they weren't going anywhere. There weren't going to be other movies. This was the end for them.
Just as a quick interjection on that, so usually I save this for after the recap, but if it did bad, maybe so. This movie had a budget of $220 million, grossed $1.5 billion. Now, comparison, Jeez. You know, in comparison, wow. I just thought, let's just talk about the last movie, the one that came right before this. We just reviewed it last week. Captain America only grossed $370 million. So it literally did 5 times as much money as the movie that came right before it, featuring one of the main characters of the movie. This movie was a huge success. So maybe, I don't necessarily know if I agree with your claim that this is the most ambitious, but you know, it made its money. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
The ambition
made that and a lot more.
Off.
Yeah. What about you, Zero?
Well, I saw this movie when it first came out in theaters, and then we bought it on DVD, and I've seen it 100 times since. And I feel like every time I've seen it, I've loved it in equal amount.
Really? You've never, like, wavered at all?
Not really. Probably because of, like, how frequently I've rewatched it. Though, this is probably the first time I've watched it in about a year, because more recently I've been rewatching, like, Civil War or Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because, you know, those are just more recent and, in my opinion, better movies. But this is still, you know, knocks it right out of the park.
Yeah. But over all of this time of watching it, you didn't lower, but you also didn't raise it at all. Like, this has just remained steady, you know, like, you know, 8 years ago or 6 years ago when you were, I don't know, 14, 13, it was as good then as it is now.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. We're going to do something a little different this time. Usually I do the plot recaps, but listen, I'm getting tired. I need a little break. Kaiser, hit us with the plot synopsis.
All right, so to start, we have a little intro from an alien guy that we don't know, talking about the humans and how they're small.
They're an unruly bunch, which means they cannot be ruled. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
to challenge Levis to court death.
Yeah, excellent impersonation. Which, all right, little minor complaint. We never see this guy again.
No, I don't think that's true.
He's not in Infinity War. He doesn't come back. He's just here for this movie and does nothing.
That's how MCU likes their villains.
I might be wrong about this, but I think Ronan kills him in Guardians.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Really?
we're gonna.
I guess we'll figure that out in
actually, I
Guardians.
think I remember that.
Yeah. Let's talk about this guy for a little bit. So yeah, I theorize. I don't. It's been a while since I've seen the first Guardians movie, so I don't 100% remember. But I think he dies in that movie. But also, man, this guy is literally a Power Rangers villain. I mean, this like
That is the best possible description.
Thanos is like, just I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. This guy is way too cartoony. Like, just the voice, the way he hunches, literally straight out of Power Rangers.
I can't say that you're wrong.
Not a big fan.
I did kind of get that impression. So yeah, he does this little thing about how dumb the humans are and how it's almost not worth it to take over and what can they do but burn. And then we cut to a SHIELD base and Fury has arrived and there's a whole bunch of people evacuating. And he goes in and our good pal from Thor, Dr. Selvig, informs Fury that the Tesseract is misbehaving and it's setting off all these energy signals. They have no idea what's going on. Suddenly it shoots this beam across the room and it opens up this portal in the roof and out drops Loki from the other side
and
of
we
space.
get this really weird shot. It's of Loki like looking
He does
down.
the fucking Jax film smirk.
Yeah, he's looking down. The camera is like in this weird angle, and he's just like really creepily smiling. And as I watched this, I was thinking, why is he so happy? Because that's not just like that. That's a really, really strong smile he's putting on there. I don't know why he's that happy.
Yeah, he's very.
He's got like. It looks like he hasn't slept in a while. It's like dark under his eyes. I think he's just happy it worked. I don't think he was sure that he'd actually make it.
Well,
to Earth.
We could. Here's the deal. Just coming off of Thor, they made a big deal about the fact that like the Bifrost Bridge is gone. Teleporting is just not a deal. You cannot do it as an Asgardian anymore. Now, well, I mean, obviously, and even in that situation, we knew there are other possibilities, but like that was still a big point of the story is the fact that if he destroys this bridge, he will not be able to go back to Earth. Thor. Yeah. Now, open up this movie, Loki is immediately on Earth. And then also, like, now add another 30 minutes, and suddenly Thor is also here. And Loki is just like, did father send you? Like, wink. Yeah. I mean, there was no consequences to this Bifrost Bridge at all.
Yeah, especially because they just get it back.
Yeah. All right. So Loki arrives. And he's like, does an ant have any quarrel with a boot? I'm taking the Tesseract. And Loki just, like, fucks up these SHIELD agents and mind controls Dr. Selvig and Hawkeye, which I thought was an interesting twist. Like, I wasn't ready for that at all.
Hold on. Let's stop for a second. Two things of note here. One, Hawkeye, really weird. I don't know. He's just really creepy. He's, like, perched in a... I think they took... They I don't know. They took a weird cartoonish, just the way he was in the corner of the ceiling, like hunched over, just staring at everything. Just felt like, what are you doing? Like, you are not a literal bird. Stop doing this. Now, other thing. Apparently, now I don't know if we saw this in Thor or anything. Asgardians just bulletproof. I mean, literally, bullets were just hitting Loki, and it just didn't. It didn't even do anything.
Yeah, that does explain why they don't use guns.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the thing is, Asgardians, they don't have like strong skin or anything. They are just like have a natural immunity to bullets. But like you hit them with a metal sword and they're done for. So that's why.
Yeah, you could just cut them right in half. If anything, they're way more fragile than normal human.
Well, they have immunity to piercing weapons, but not slashing or bludgeoning.
Yeah.
Damn. That's a real tough rap.
Yeah. So. He mind controls Hawkeye and Professor Selvig. They grab the Tesseract. They blast Fury. I don't know why he didn't mind control him, but he blasts him instead, and they head out. and they escape in this truck, and the portal that Loki came through, the energy signature is too high, it's too unstable, and it collapses, and managed to just collapse the entirety of the SHIELD base and nothing more. They call in a helicopter to try and deal with this, and it gets gunned down, and Loki manages to escape. And Fury says, well, Avengers assemble.
Does he, hold on, clarify something for me. When Nick Fury is doing this, is he actually saying that, like, is he being kind of, because he brings on the Hulk, he brings on Bruce Banner and says, like, hey, you're just here to do science stuff. Is he? Yeah. Is Nick Fury lying here?
Absolutely.
It's not beyond him.
I think he's lying.
It's not beyond him to do that. I wasn't clear. Like, to me, when I'm reading the description of the movie as we go, just to make sure we're getting everything. And it says here that he is activating the Avengers Initiative. But when I watched it, it didn't feel like that to me. What I thought was just happening was he was collecting Bruce and Tony because, like that, they could help in this situation. And then he also just, like, Cap, I guess, yeah. If he's getting Cap, then okay.
Yeah, see, that's just what he wants you to think. You're following.
He tricked me. He tricked me too, the audience member.
So he decides to call in the Avengers, and we cut to Black Widow is tied to a chair, on this ledge in this building,
great
this
scene.
Like warehouse, and these Russian guys are interrogating her, and. Suddenly they get a phone call, and Coulson's like, I know where you are, I will blow the whole thing up if you don't put Natasha on the phone. So they put her on the phone, she's like, I'm in the middle of an interrogation, these idiots are giving me everything. He's like, nope, Hawkeye's been compromised, and she's like, alright. And she just destroys these guys.
Well,
I think there's like 3 guys
chair.
in the room. She's tied to a chair, and she just wrecks them all.
Now, fun fact about this scene, and this is just going off of memory, so I might be wrong here, but from what I remember, this scene actually, this movie was directed and written by Joss Whedon. He actually had this scene in mind way before ever working for Marvel. It was just in his head. It was just like, not specifically for Black Widow, but just a female, assassin of sorts tied to a chair, sort of playing the people interrogating her. He had this idea years before ever coming in this movie, and it just seemed like he just thought it was the perfect fit for the introduction of Black Widow to the Avengers, and I agree. I mean, we'll talk about this more for the Black Widow watch, but I agree this was a great scene.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this was one of my favorites. One of the things I also want to note is that when we did Iron Man, I said that compared to her other combat sequences later on, it was a little slow. And I think this was a good showcase of that. I thought the pace of this fight was a lot quicker. I don't know if you noticed.
I didn't notice.
Okay, well. I did. Either way, she beats them, and then she's like, all right, who do I have to take care of and get? And he's like, you get the big guy. And she's like, oh, well, Stark's not going to talk to me. He's like, no, I have Stark. You get the big guy. And she's like, oh, boy.
Why would she think it's Stark? I mean, if she knows who Bruce Banner is.
I don't know. I think she just assumed that they weren't going to bring him in.
Yeah, they're not that crazy.
Yeah,
and
due to his
does
situation.
sort of have an in with Stark.
Right. So I think that was the assumption. Speaking of getting Hulk, we go to India, where this guy is working on the sick, and this little girl comes in with a fistful of money and demands that the doctor look at her father, who is also ill. And so he follows her to this inconspicuous house in the middle of nowhere outside the city, and she crawls out the window, and he is now alone in this house with Natasha. And she's like, hey, we need to bring you in. And he's like, oh, well, I don't know if that's a good idea. And he yells at her. And she pulls a gun on him. And he's like, no, I'm sorry. That was mean. I just wanted to see what you do.
That's the same reaction I have when someone pulls a gun on me after I say some stupid shit.
No, it's just a prank, bro. Come on. And she tells the other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to stand down, even though she told them they were alone. But I would have brought back up too. Then we go to Fury is standing in front of what I believe to be the UN Security Council. It is a council of some sort, and I think it's the UN Security Council, but whatever. And he is justifying the need to bring in these Avengers, and everybody's like, oh, these are freelance weirdos, and you're pulling them together, and it's an unstable group. And he's like, well, we need them
because... It is the most ambitious crossover of all time.
Yeah, this is the most ambitious crossover. And he's like, well, we need them because wars are fought by soldiers, and these are my soldiers. So next up, we have Cap is doing exactly what he was doing at the end of the last movie and just punching these punching bags. We get these weird flashbacks, and he punches the punching bag right off the chain, knocks it onto the floor, and picks up another one, because I guess he does this all day long.
Now,
I just punch until I have no bags left.
Well, here's the deal. I'm going to skip to the end of the scene real fast, because I want to comment on something. So he joins the team. That's what's important about the scene. Now, as he's leaving, Captain America there's like 5 punching bags on the ground. He takes one of them and walks out. What are you doing without one punching bag?
You're just gonna break it, dude.
He only needed one, though? He didn't want to take more than one?
Nah, man. He doesn't know. You have to travel light, okay?
Okay, sure, Cap.
So then we have Iron Man under the water. He's cutting some wires, fixing up some stuff. Flies out. We see he's built a new Stark Tower in New York. He's talking to Pepper Potts.
Hold on, real quick.
Yeah.
When I watched the commentary for this, they commented on how, like 2 scenes ago, they were talking like, oh, wars are fought by soldiers, and then they cut to Captain America, and then the last line in that scene was Cap saying,
"Should have left
the Tesseract in the ocean." And then we cut to the Iron Man in the water. It was like, whoa, they did do that.
That's called directing. It's pretty impressive. I want to actually, I will say that this whole getting the team together thing. Well, okay, keep going, and I'll talk about it in a second.
Okay. So he flies back in. His suit gets disassembled. He's telling Pepper Potts she needs to take 12% of the credit. And she's like, I'll have 12% of the moment. Coulson essentially breaks in to their house and is like, hey, we're not putting together the Avengers, but like we're putting together the Avengers, and hands him a file. And Pepper is like, oh, well, I'll go to DC. You have homework. And she heads out.
One thing to note on that file, we do see the Hulk attack in New York from the first Hulk movie. So
yeah. Oh, is that what that is?
Yep. So
they also show it to Cap on the plane.
Yeah, 100% confirmation. Same universe. I mean, I know we're already beyond that, but just
yeah. The other thing is there's a brief mention of a cellist.
Yeah,
which
actually just a little Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fun fact. She shows up in that show. They do. Oh, really? They put that character in. Yeah.
Huh. That's funny.
Wait, who's the cellist?
Coulson has it's in like 3 different scenes. Like, so as he leaves or as he walks in, whoever he is talking to, they're talking about a cellist in Portland that he is like sort of interested in. But like as he's leaving this scene, Pepper Potts is like, "Hey, what's up with that lady?"
Like a cello.
Nope. No. And then as he's walking in the next scene with Tony Stark, Tony's like, hey, I'll fly you out to Portland. You could go see this cellist. And then after he dies, spoiler alert, they talk about, Cap asks if he was married. And then Tony says there is a cellist. So, yeah.
They're really setting that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little weird. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It's a little like, Jesus, are you really obsessed with this cellist person?
It's just a little. So, next they're in a plane. It's Coulson and Captain America. And he's like, it's really just an honor to have you here. I'm so glad I was here when they pulled you out of the ice. I'm really glad to see you. You're a hero of mine. And Cap's like, all right, dude. Calm down.
Stop with the dick sucking.
Yeah, I get it.
Quick interjection. I want to say that this whole getting the team together aspect, I'm a big fan of the heist movie genre. You know, I loved Ocean's, 11, 12, 13. I loved, Inception. Movies like this really appeal to me. And one of the big things about these movies that I really love is the first 40 minutes in which you are just like grabbing a specialized team, and each one of them that gets their cool scene. So you'd be like, we need a tech guy. So you walk in and you meet this character who's like hacking into, like, he has 8 monitors around him and he's hacking into stuff. And then you like, we need an acrobat. So you go to the circus and there's this huge acrobat thing. On the note of acrobat, they did that in Avatar: Last Airbender when Azula was gathering her team. I like these scenes a lot. Like, personally, just for me, I'm really into these heist-esque getting the team together. And I thought it was super well done in this movie. I thought, each scene that each person had was really, really great. I mean, some better than, like, Tony's was fine. Black Widow was amazing. I like the scene with Hulk, so I really thought this overall great. I think we're like 35 minutes into the movie at this point. Great 35 minutes.
Yeah. So, next up, Loki is sitting there kind of meditating, and all of a sudden he, like, mentally projects himself to the other side of space and is talking to the Power Rangers bad guy again about how as soon as the army's ready, he's just going to walk in and squash Earth. And this guy's like, I don't understand why you want to rule the humans. They suck. And he's like, hey, that's my business.
The humans are unruly, which means they cannot be ruled.
Yeah. And
I think that's the worst line. I think that is genuinely, the worst line in the entire MCU I've ever heard.
I don't know, man. I want my bird is it's up there. So yeah, Loki's like, all right, no, I got this. And he's like, the Power Rangers guy is like, all right, but if you fail, we're gonna hunt you down and we're gonna kill you.
Oh, well.
And then we are on the helicarrier, which we think is just a cool aircraft carrier right now. And Captain America meets up with Black Widow and Bruce Banner. And Fury comes in, and they all kind of greet each other, and they find out. Yeah, Banner talks about how he's like, oh, you guys want to bring me into a submarine? That's a bad idea. And then the thing starts to fly, and he's like, oh, this is way worse. And...
This guy, there's just no pleasing him, alright?
Yeah, no, it's just...
Quick question. Is Thanos... What is Loki doing again? Is he getting the Tesseract for himself or for Thanos?
So... They're really unclear about it, but presumably he does it so he can get the army across, take over Earth, and then I guess he's just gonna give it back.
Okay.
Because...
Why not?
In hindsight, we know that Thanos isn't not gonna have the Tesseract. Like,
yeah. Okay.
Or the Scepter, for that matter.
Alright.
So I guess he's just leasing out Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
To
it really
bad
didn't
guys.
work for him at all. Like,
Yeah,
it was
this is-
just so much better for him to just do it himself.
This is why I'm like kind of trying to figure out the motivations again, because why would you give Loki an Infinity Stone to go get another Infinity Stone and loan out your army?
doesn't.
And why not
He's
just
not there to
you
get...
gotta double your investment.
Yeah, hey man, I don't claim to understand cosmic beings.
I think despite the fact that we are clearly building up towards something with this Thanos character at this point, it still feels like, I don't know, maybe they
Like they
weren't.
don't know what.
Yeah, maybe they weren't 100% sure. Like, yeah, obviously, there's no way they knew what Infinity War was like, what that was going to be like before,
Right,
at this point.
right.
But like, it seems like they might not even sort of have an idea, because I just don't understand why Thanos wouldn't just handle this himself. I mean, like, I don't really get it.
Because you can't do that yet. One step at a time.
All right. Sure.
They don't give an answer. I guess he just doesn't want to.
But the thing is, we know, presumably, he is taking over planets or not taking over, but destroying planets at the time, because he gets Gamora when she's a kid, and she's like 20 plus years old in Infinity War. So Just
Yeah, so he's been doing this for a while.
yeah. So presumably, while this
but
movie is
not to get-
happening,
Yeah, not to get Infinity Stones, though.
well, but that is the
that
plan,
was just
right?
for sport.
But that is the plan, right? To get the
He just does
Tesseract.
that as a hobby. I don't know.
Sure. Okay.
It could have been
Whatever.
better
Fuck it.
planned, but
I didn't even think we see Thanos until the after credit scene. So who the fuck cares? I don't know. Whatever. Just move on.
all right. So, after they meet up, we're back to Loki, and they're talking about how the Shield has a lot of enemies, and that's where they got all these men, and how Hawkeye needs a diversion and an eyeball, and that's pretty much the whole thing.
Oh, we actually
making a cocktail.
do we go straight to Germany at this point or no?
Yeah, we go straight to Germany after that.
Great. I really like this sequence. I really like, everything that with Loki. I don't know. Thought it was pretty neat. Loki getting into that party and just fucking everyone up.
Yeah.
It was a good infiltration.
I also like how, well, we'll get there in a second, but they get a 75% facial match with somebody in Germany that looks like Loki, and they're like, he's not exactly hiding. So Cap and Widow go to check it out. Loki's at this high-end fancy party. And he just takes one of these guys, flips him over this table, and gouges his eye out so that Hawkeye can break into this vault and steal this iridium. Then he steps out front and magically changes his clothes, summons 3 more of himself, and then boxes in these people and demands that they kneel.
Hold on. Quick question.
Yes.
Why did they need Iridium again?
I believe for the thing that will open up the portal.
Okay. Got it.
I don't think they established that, but they said they needed the iridium, and that's the only thing I can think they would need it for.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, because they mentioned it's highly conductive. So he demands that they kneel and gives this long speech about humans crave to be ruled and how their life is this mad scramble for power, but they really should just be subjugated. And I noted that when we did the Thor thing, and I was like, this doesn't make sense, and you're like, yeah, from the standpoint of somebody who wants to be king, it doesn't make sense. And now here he is wanting to be king, and I'm like, well, I don't understand why you've made this complete directional change,
Well,
buddy. This doesn't...
This, to me, I think this is, and I'm really analyzing this character here, so this is totally subtext. But to me, I think this is Loki trying to become independent, and actually, let's hold on to that. We can talk about that when we get to villains.
Yeah. All right. So he gives this speech, and this old guy stands up, and he's like, hey, fuck off. And Loki's like, all right, well, look to your elders, people. And Captain America comes in and saves him, and they have a big old fight.
Let's talk about how ugly this fucking Captain America suit is. Holy shit.
It is the worst one.
No, the crazy thing is,
margin.
the craziest thing is, I thought maybe, it was just this bad, and then they fixed it in Winter Soldier, but no, it was good in the first movie, too. They just fucked it up for this one. What the hell happened?
I don't know. It's when he came back, he didn't have his suit anymore. Or maybe he did, but it wasn't wearable.
And you know what people fucking say? Because, people will say Coulson has the line where he says he helped redesign the suit. Coulson's a big Captain America fan. He has the cards. So clearly he just designed it off the cards because he's a fucking fanboy. And sure, that's the in-reason explanation. But why the fuck did some costume designer do it? Why did the real-life person making this movie decide I'm going to have Captain America's suit be fucking ugly?
Well, you see, he had the baseball cards, too.
Okay. That's all I have to say about that.
So, Cap and Loki duke it out, and I'm not going to say Cap is clearly outclassed, but
he
Loki
is. He's
definitely
getting
has
fucked
the
up.
upper hand.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to remember, this is not the strong one. Thor is the strong one.
Yeah.
And
This
Loki
is the
still
weak
manages
brother.
to... Yeah, so they fight it out for a bit. Widow can't get a clear shot. All of a sudden, AC/DC is blasting. Iron Man drops down, pulls out a bunch of missiles from his suit, and is like, make your move, reindeer boy.
Now, quick
and Loki just surrenders.
Quick trivia for Hoodie's life. we had in high school, I was in a theater class, and one of the theater projects was we were learning about light and tech and all all the audio stuff, and our project was to pick a scene out of a fairy tale and choreograph lighting and music for that scene without actors, because we were learning about like how to tell story through through lights. And I finessed that shit as I always do. I said, I'm not doing no fucking gay ass fairy tales. I'm doing the Avengers movie. And he let me.
That's my fairy tale.
Yeah, so I did this scene. I did the scene of Cap fighting Loki, and then Tony coming in. So I I had the green light and the blue light, and then AC/DC starts playing, and then the red light shows up, and it was a fun little time.
Nice.
I also did a scene from this movie for high school theater. Slightly different context.
Go ahead.
It was a scene we'll get into later where Loki's talking to Black Widow, and he has this monologue where he's just like fucking with her.
Oh, you didn't do the Neil monologue?
No.
Why not?
I liked his language more in the other one. It was just,
Okay, fair enough.
So, he surrenders. They're carrying him off in the jet, and all of a sudden there's lightning, and they're like, "What's wrong, reindeer boy? You scared of a little thunder?" And he's like, "I am not fond of what follows."
People just keep calling him reindeer boy.
Yeah. That's what he's credited as in the credits of the movie, actually.
Yeah, that's his character name. So Thor drops down. They fixed the Bifrost Bridge really quick.
No, they didn't. That's the thing. They didn't even do that. They didn't even fucking fix the bridge. It was just Odin sent him. Odin could just do that. He just he's like, you go. And just fucking sends him.
Yeah, all you had to do is scrounge up some dark energy and...
But he can't do it just because Thor wants to, He can only do it when the Earth's in danger. It's fine.
King doesn't do stuff just because he wants to. Come on, guys.
What do you think he is? A god? Come on.
Come on. So he drops down, he breaks in, steals Loki, and Iron Man's like, I'm gonna go fuck him up.
You know what? Hold on. Why not? Why didn't fucking Odin just come down and fucking kill Loki right there? Or not kill him, but bring him back, because listen, let's talk about Odin for a second. Odin is the fucking strongest being in the universe at this point. I mean, maybe not, but we know that it is very heavily theorized that the reason Thanos did not attack until he did was because Odin was still alive. And Odin died in Thor Ragnarok, spoiler alert, thus he is now ready to attack and unleash his plan. That theory totally makes sense to me, because Odin also fucking killed all the frost giants and saved Earth one time. Why the fuck is this entire thing happening when Odin knows what Loki is doing? Why would he send Thor? Why would he not just be
because
let me go for 1 second?
And what if he shows up and falls into an Odin nap? He's old now. Come on, guys.
Sure. Fuck it.
You
Whatever.
might need to take a sleep.
Fuck Odin. This is the problem with having super powerful characters, because it's one thing for why isn't Thor helping Earth in whatever fucking Iron Man 3 or whatever, because Thor's all the way in fucking Asgard. He's not that strong, he can just teleport everywhere. Yeah. But when you fucking introduce Odin and Odin's just fucking chilling, fuck you.
It kind of seems like you can't just teleport everywhere in Odin's case. That's pretty much how he saved Thor.
I just don't get it. And he knows. He knows something's happening, because 1, Heimdall knows everything. 2, he sent Thor there, so presumably he has some idea. And 3, there's also the people fucking point out the 2 ravens flying by, so we know that those are possibly Odin's ravens. So clearly he fucking has an idea. Fuck you, Odin. Fuck you.
It's actually that he just doesn't care about Loki.
Yeah, he's just not that interested.
I mean, let's not forget that, it's not Thor saying, I protect Earth. It is the Asgardians say that. The Asgardians protect Earth. That's why they fucking went down there when the Frost Giants went. Okay, I'm done. Go ahead.
You sure? So, Iron Man jumps out.
And one other thing. Let's talk about the... Go ahead.
Iron Man flies after Thor, and Cap's like, all right, I'm going to go in too. And Black Widow's like, I wouldn't do that. These guys are basically gods. And he's like, God doesn't dress like that. And he jumps out.
Great. Well, you didn't do that. You fucking butchered that line. The line is, ma'am, there's only one God, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that. Now, I thought that was a great line. Really,
it is a very good line.
I don't know if Disney...
Christian boy.
Actually, yeah, this was distributed by Walt Disney, so I'm surprised that line made it through. All right, anyways.
So, Thor drops onto a mountain with Loki, and he's like, hey, I thought you were dead. Stop being a pussy. And Loki's like, hey, fuck you. And they go back and forth for a bit.
There really should have been like a Thor 2 before this movie. Not Thor 2, the one we got, but like the fact that so much of Thor, like where we left off narratively with Thor, is just sort of brushed over with this movie kind of fucking sucks. I mean,
yeah.
We think it's fine now because we know what happened with Thor 2, so no one cares about this character. But like the fact that the Thor 1 ended on two dramatic notes: Loki's death, presumably, and the Bifrost Bridge being destroyed. Both of those things just fucking waved away in this movie.
Yeah.
Hey man.
Sure. Whatever.
You gotta. The movie still made its money back, so.
Okay.
Worth it. Worthy sacrifice.
Whatever.
If anyone cared about Thor, this movie would have bombed.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So they're going back and forth for a bit, and Loki's being Loki, and Thor says, listen here, and Iron Man just grabs him and hauls him off the mountain. Loki's like, I'm listening.
I noted on this with you, Kaiser, 3 months ago, but you'll note that Thor's language, real Shakespearean this time around. He has a line where he says, "The throne would fit you ill, brother."
Yeah.
And then literally the opening to Thor is a fucking meme. The opening to Thor Ragnarok is him saying, like, I bet you wonder how I got here. So this is the fucking character arc that we went to
yeah, he's come a long way.
Or not to be. Hey guys, check out my Twitter profile. Like, what the hell happened here?
I bet Thor has a Snapchat.
Yeah, he's really assimilated to the culture, you know. So...
You could there, dude.
All right, well.
Jesus.
I feel like General Grievous. All right. So Iron Man is like, hey, you can't take our stuff.
Jesus, do you need some water, man?
Hang on.
You want to take a second? Water. I can keep going on Odin if you want to give you some time.
As a matter of fact, here are my top 10 things I hate about Odin list.
After 10 minutes of screen time, I was able to come up with 10 different things.
All right. I think I'm good now. We'll see how this goes. So Iron Man's like, hey, you can't take our stuff. And Thor's like, he's not your stuff. Iron Man's like, well, he is till we get the Tesseract back. And Thor's like, all right, well, we're going to have to fight this out. So they fight, and it's pretty even. They go back and forth. Then
I asked myself this. After Tony says this to Thor, why does Thor not just say, okay, fine, take the fucking Tesseract and just let me leave with my brother? Now, the reason they say in the movie is because, of course, the Tesseract is needed to get them both to Asgard. Of course, because Odin can't just summon them again? Why not?
So I feel like I might have been wrong about this, but was the Tesseract in the vault prior to
No, it looks
the movie?
very similar. It looks very similar to the casket of ancients or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is not the same thing.
Okay. I didn't know, because I know they have a bunch of weird relics just sitting around in there, like cough, cough, the Infinity Gauntlet.
It's been on Earth the whole time.
All right. I just wanted to be sure. So, they fight it out for a bit. I think Thor is just getting the upper hand when Cap comes in, and he's like, hey, knock it off. You two are being butts. And Thor's like, all right, well, you want to talk like that to me? I'm just going to smash you with my hammer. And totally has no effect on his shield.
I guess not only does it not affect his shield, Thor goes flying back. Cap is fine. Now, here's the fucking deal. What the fuck is this vibranium shit? Are you telling me that this random earth metal is stronger than a hammer forged in a dying star enchanted by Odin, the all-powerful Odin?
Yeah, I don't want to hear shit about a lightsaber being able to cut through Cap's shield anymore.
Here's the fucking dumb thing, though.
That is definitively false.
They totally had in Avengers: Infinity War. Quick spoilers for that. I'm gonna tap my head when I start spoiling, and I'll tap my head again when I'm done spoiling. So I'm now going to spoiler mode. I will tap it again when I'm done. They totally could have explained why vibranium is so strong in Avengers Infinity War if they just made the vibranium the Soul Stone. If they said, like, the flowers that make you Black Panther, the vibranium flowers, if that was imbued with the Soul Stone and that's why Black Panther had these powers and that's why vibranium is so strong, then that would totally make sense. But they decided to fucking add a random fucking thing with the Soul Stone, which I enjoyed. Yeah. I enjoyed, but now it just leaves this huge question mark on the fucking vibranium. Why is this shit so strong? I mean, it's not. It is beyond just like diamond level strength or whatever. It is beyond just like as strong as iron. No, this is literally out of this world powerful than magic. Why?
Yeah.
Why indeed?
Well, it's interesting. Oh, go ahead.
I feel like there are a decent number of non-Infinity Stone powerful magic items in this universe, so it doesn't bother me that much, but I do think that would have been a much better explanation as opposed to the no explanation that we have. It's just a strong metal.
Yeah. In the comics, you guys might know, his shield is a
proto-adamantium
mix,
alloy,
which is why it's so strong. But they didn't have the rights to adamantine because that's in
well, hold on, quick.
That's in X-Men.
Is adamantium just another strong metal?
Pretty much, yeah.
So they have different properties.
That doesn't solve the fucking problem then. You just took two strong metals and made it a strong metal. I already know this is a strong metal.
It's
now, if you told me adamantium was the reason that Wolverine had like a healing factor, then maybe I'm starting to believe you. Because now it's like, on top of not being able to damage this metal, if you did somehow damage it, it restored itself. Then I'm like, okay, there's some magic involved here, so I could totally buy into this. But no, if you're just gonna tell me you fucking took aluminum foil and an iron and now you have vibranium, then no, I don't give a fuck.
Well,
hey man, it's comic books.
Yeah, come on.
I get a lot angrier when I'm tired. We're recording this at 11 p.m. and I'm sleepy, and now I'm just mad. Remember, I like this movie. I think this movie's great, by the way.
All right. Well, so smashes his hammer down.
Oh, wait. Tap on my head for the end of spoilers.
Yes. All right. So slams his hammer down on the shield, levels like a quarter of this forest, knocks back Iron Man and Thor, and I guess that just gains Cap the respect of Thor, and so they head back to the helicarrier.
This makes me the captain.
Yes, he is the captain now.
Okay.
So they take Loki on board the ship, and he kind of gives this sly look to Banner as he's passing by, and they put him on, and Fury's like, "Hey, Ant, boot," and he's like, "This isn't for me. You made this for someone a lot bigger." And Fury is like, "Yeah, so don't mess with it because you're not that big."
Okay. Thank you for the brilliant commentary.
Oh yeah, I'm really. They should have had me write.
I'm really surprised Joss Whedon got a second movie deal after writing that one. I think that, in combination with the unruly, they can't be ruled line, might have ruled him out. But
yeah, you would think.
Okay.
So the team meets up for the first time. We got everybody except for Hawkeye, and they're talking about how to deal with the Tesseract and Loki and what the plan's gonna be. Then I need to walk away for one quick second. Keep going with the plot recap because I don't want to edit this though. Okay. So they go to Banner and Iron Man are talking about they're talking about how SHIELD has some dirty secrets, and Fury's secrets have secrets, and Cap's like, no, like, we need to help these guys. I can't believe that you're hacking into their mainframe and whatnot. And Tony's like, I don't feel bad about any of this. I'm totally, like, I don't trust what's going on here. And so Cap's like, all right, well, I'm going to do some investigating of my own because I don't trust Tony, but yeah, all right, I guess this is a little sketchy. So he heads out. They're breaking into the mainframe, trying to find the energy signals from the Tesseract. Meanwhile, Black Widow goes to where Loki's being held and says, hey, where's my buddy?
Excellent scene number 2.
Yes. A lot of the scenes she's in are exquisite. I mean,
Tell me
just
about
top
it.
tier.
I mean, we're going to get into this. I mean, I got some stuff prepped for Black Widow watch.
Yeah.
So, you should just call this movie Black Widow.
Yeah.
This is the Black Widow solo movie featuring Captain America, Tony Stark,
featuring the
Hulk.
Avengers.
Yeah.
So she goes and she goes and asks him where Barton is, Hawkeye, and Loki's like, oh, why do you care to know? And she's like, I have red in my ledger and I want to wipe it out. I don't know why she needs Hawkeye to do that, but she does.
And Loki's like, can you wipe out that much? I'm gonna do the whole monologue.
Do you have it memorized?
I think I know most of it, but I'm not actually gonna do it.
Sure. Okay. Well, fuck you then.
So yeah, he starts screaming in her face about how she can't wipe out that much red, and he knows all about all her dirty secrets and how he's gonna make Hawkeye kill her, and then he's gonna kill him and laugh over their corpses. And she's like, you're a monster. And he's like, no, you brought the monster. And she's like, oh, so you're gonna release Hulk? And he's like, wait a second, what happened?
Now, okay,
She's
here's
like,
what I'll say. Great scene, love the scene, beautiful. That was a bit of a reach. That one was like, he just said the word monster, and you were like, I know your entire plan.
Ah, yes.
This idiot's giving me everything.
Like, maybe just fed another line out of him. Just one more, like, just a little, just get him to say the word Hulk, maybe. But I don't know. So it was a bit of a reach.
You brought the green monster.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been expressing interest in Hulk, like, the whole time. And it's like, this one line, that's what does it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what gives it away. So she heads out to tell them of this plan. Meanwhile, Captain America has found Hydra weapons and armor hidden on the ship. He heads back to Tony and Banner, who have finished hacking into the mainframe. Fury's like, no, we're not doing anything. We're not doing anything crazy. And they're like, oh, really? These seem like schematics for weapons. And Cap drops a gun on the table and is like, yeah, these are weapons. And Fury's like, all right, so we were making weapons, but it's just because it's Thor's fault.
It's actually even worse.
Hydra.
It's actually even worse than that.
Nazis.
Like, Nick Fury really gets caught in a lie. He says, because it actually, Cap drops the weapon first, and Nick says, we confiscated those weapons and anything Tesseract related to make it seem like those aren't our weapons. We were just holding on to them. And then immediately Tony's like, really? Because these are the schematics and you built them. So it was like, he really got caught in a fucking lie there.
Oh, yeah. And then he's like, well, it's Thor's fault. I blame it on Thor.
You know what? I don't blame you, S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, fucking the Destroyer came down and he fucking destroyed.
Yeah,
that was a sequence of events.
Yeah, they were. So, Thor's like, it's not my fault, and then they get into an argument, and everybody's yelling at each other, and they get this weird shot of the scepter. Meanwhile, this jet's flying in, and requests permission to land, and we don't really know what's going on there. Suddenly Banner's like, you want to know my secret? And they're like, no, put down the scepter. And he's like, oh, sorry. And then all of a sudden, their room gets shot in, Banner and Widow fall into the next floor. Cap and Iron Man are like, oh, we better go put our suits on. And, I skipped over. They have a little bit of an argument, too. Yeah. Where Cap and Iron Man go back and forth, and he's like, what are you without the suit? Yeah. He's like, what are you without the suit? And he's like, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. And
started on that
Black
one
Widow's
a little bit there, buddy.
yeah, a little bit. Billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Yeah, there you go.
Words are hard. She's like, put on the suit. Let's go a few rounds. And then we have the whole thing with Banner. The floor caves in, and Cap's like, put on the suit. And Iron Man's like, yeah. So they run off. The jet has these. I keep wanting to say Hydra, but it's not Hydra. It's just random guys who don't like S.H.I.E.L.D. They come in with Hawkeye. They're gunning down one of the engines. They're infiltrating the ship. They're rescuing Loki. So Iron Man and Cap go to fix the engine, or Iron Man goes to fix the engine. Cap goes to give him backup.
Actually, are they rescuing Loki? Is that the plan here?
Yes, that's the only reason they're on the helicarrier.
Well, why is Loki there, though?
To get Hulk to be mean, I guess.
So, let's break this down. Why is this happening? Why the fuck does he care? I mean, what is the actual plan here?
I think the strategic value of this move is now they don't have the helicarrier to assist them when his army invades. Like,
that's
it's
it?
too damaged.
The helicarrier?
Well, I don't think that's it. But like I do think that's part of it, to take out their biggest warship from, helping in the takedown of his army.
I'm just saying, let's address the fact that Loki did not know the Avengers were a thing before this. He didn't know that there was a team of heroes.
Well, I don't necessarily think that's true, because he seems to have a lot of information about Bruce Banner that you wouldn't think he would have.
That's true. You know what? I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Loki, he's playing 4D chess while we're out here playing one-dimensional checkers, alright?
Playing tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, they're not on his level.
We're playing fucking Connect 4.
God. 4D Connect 4. So, where was I? Oh, so, Hulk... or Banner and Widow fall to the next room. She's got like a pipe on her leg, and she's telling him to stay calm. Sun's getting low. No. And he turns into the Hulk and starts chasing her, basically. She runs through the whole thing, and then Thor kind of pops up out of nowhere, smacks him in the face with his hammer, and they get into a bit of a tussle. Fury calls in one of his ships, which fires at Hulk. Hulk just jumps on it, starts ripping it apart, and he just kind of crash lands with this ship out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that pilot must have had like the worst day of his life.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh my god, the scene
he
where
crapped his pants.
The scene where he ejects and Hulk just grabs him. That is so scary.
Oh my god,
I would fucking kill myself there.
I would retire. I would absolutely retire.
Yeah,
holy
I can't
shit.
do this anymore.
Now, luckily, Hulk throws him and he's fine. But like, holy shit,
like,
that was scary.
I'm never going back to Shield after that shit.
Yeah, so Hulk spirals down to the surface below. I think that... No, nobody tells him. Thor just finds out that Loki's being compromised, so he heads up there and he sees Loki escaping, so he lunges at him, and Loki does the good old fake Loki trick and has him trapped in the Hulk cage.
And he has a line where it says, like, will you ever not fall for that? Now, here's the deal about that scene. If it wasn't for that line, I think I would be mad about that, because it is a really easy trick. Like, are you really telling me that Thor got caught by that? But when Loki says that, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Thor is a fucking idiot, and that sold me on the scene.
That makes sense.
He does stop falling for it eventually.
Yeah, fucking 8 years later.
After the 60th time Loki stabs him.
Yeah. So Loki's like, the mortals, they think we're immortal. You want to test that out? And Coulson comes in.
Why do you call them mortals if you're not?
So Coulson comes in. He's like, hey, we based this weapon off the destroyer, and I will totally shoot you with it if you don't step away. And Loki's like, oh. and just pops up behind him and stabs him.
And then he says, "Will you ever not fall for that trick, Coulson?"
Teleports behind you. Nothing personal, kid.
Yeah. Just business. So, yeah, he stabs Coulson, drops Thor down. Thor manages to escape, but doesn't manage to get back to the helicarrier.
Coulson shoots him, though. You forgot about that.
Loki's heading out, and Coulson's like, "You're not gonna win because you lack conviction." And Loki's like, "Oh yeah? Well," and he just gets shot. And Coulson's like, "So that's what it does." So, Iron Man and Cap manage to fix the engine, or Iron Man fixes it, and Cap makes sure he doesn't die. They keep the
weird scene here where Tony is like, "You got to pull the lever," and Cap's like trying to get to it, but he has to fight people, and then Tony gets swept under the fan thing and gets fucked up. But I figure, but the way they like told that sequence of events, I thought it would be a lot worse. I mean, the moment
thought he'd like die.
Yeah, the moment where his hands slip away from the whatever the fuck it's called, like that felt really dramatic. And then it happened. The bad thing happened, and it was fine. Which felt kind of like weird. I don't know. That just felt like a misdirect.
Yeah, like it messed up his suit a bit, but he was fine. I mean, it didn't stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he even just had another suit, like, later.
Yeah, just waiting.
It's really not a problem at all.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Black Widow, who's a little traumatized, hears that Hawkeye's attacking the ship, and so she decides to go and deal with him. So they get into a bit of a hand-to-hand fight.
I want to put an asterisk on that statement you said there. Black Widow a little traumatized. I just want to put an asterisk there. We'll get back to that later. Go ahead.
Okay. So they get into a fight, and you see why Hawkeye prefers the long-range stuff. She doesn't like mop the floor with him, but she soundly
outplays him.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So she whacks him really hard on the head. The attack is thwarted. Fury goes to Coulson and says, "Hey, you can't die on me." And he's like, "No, like they needed this." And then
Coulson says, "Fuck you, bitch. I'll do what I want," and dies right there.
In fact, Coulson picks out a knife, slits his own throat.
Yeah, like as he's doing that, the medical officer is right next to him saying like, "No, he'll be fine. We just got to get him over there and we'll bandage him up." And then he says, "Fuck you," slices his throat.
He's like, "Listen, the team needs this."
Yeah, he really took one for the team there. So
I respect it.
Fury tells them that Coulson is down and they reconvene, and by they I mean just Cap and Iron Man. And he drops the trading cards down, which I didn't mention earlier, but Coulson had vintage trading cards that he wanted Cap to sign. And he never got to sign them. So Fury throws them on the table. They're covered in blood, and he's like, "These were in his jacket."
It's like, "This
Coulson
is your fault,
believing.
Cap."
Yeah, this is your fault.
If you had just signed the cards, Coulson would have lived.
He'd be alive today.
So he's
now
like, he died believing.
Like 2 weeks to bring him back.
Yeah. Let's
he died believing in. Oh my god.
Let's break this down for a second. Can we actually? Let's just, as a brief tangent. Kaiser, have you seen any of the Marvel shows at all, like Daredevil, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? You've seen some of the Netflix shows, all of them?
Yeah. No, I haven't seen all of them. I saw some of Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. I've seen Deadpool. I saw Daredevil. I saw, what's the team up?
The Defenders?
Yeah, I saw the Defenders.
Did you know that Luke Cage has a season 2?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You and everyone else in the world. Who the fuck cares about these shows anymore? I swear to God. I swear to God, when Daredevil came out, that was the hypest shit. I remember, we were in high school. I remember messaging Zero at like 3 a.m. or like 5 a.m. saying, "Daredevil dropped last night. And then it was like, we have to go to school in an hour. Let's just fucking watch an episode right now. And we did. It was so hype to watch Daredevil. Daredevil finishes. Jessica Jones starts. So fucking good. And then suddenly, no one cares anymore. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I care.
I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is good. I haven't seen the latest season, but I think it's good. But no one fucking cares anymore because the fucking MCU movies do not care. They do not care about these TV shows. They could just, all they have to fucking do is put one of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. characters in the fucking background. Like, if you just take fucking Fitz, I don't know, you guys don't know who this character is. If you just take Fitz, put him on a computer in the movie, and just, he doesn't even have a fucking line, just have him be there. You know, like that would blow my mind. I'd be like, that's fucking Fitz. He's in the movie. He was in the show and now he's in the movie.
The show's real.
They just don't care. Yeah. They just don't care.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I think the MCU, cinema-wise, is really good, is that all the movies, in some way, even if it's minor, interconnect. Like, it doesn't feel like I can watch these movies and... like, it has no connection at all outside from the characters knowing each other. Like, they feel really well interwoven. And the shows are really well connected to the movies, but it's not the other way around.
It's a complete one-way street. Like,
yeah,
all
exactly.
the shows
like,
reference the movies, but none of the movies reference the shows at all.
The shows are basically just a very expensive advertising campaign for the movies.
Quick spoiler, tapping my head now. Zero, you've seen Luke Cage Season 2. Do they address the snap at all?
Do they address what?
The snap in Infinity War.
No.
Okay. Because I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., here's what they did on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There was just another, while Thanos was happening, there was another worldly threat also happening, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. handled that one. And that's the fucking...
Oh.
It's like...
What?
It's like, fuck you. I'm tapping my head. No, I'm going to not tap my head yet. Fuck you, fucking Joe Anthony Russo, for directing Infinity War, making everyone else in the fucking universe care about, like, fucking Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now they gotta fucking deal with this fucking snap killing half their cast. And they don't even get it. Like, you won't even fucking mention the blind kung fu dude. You just gotta fucking say it. Stark lives right down the fucking street from him.
Can you imagine after Defenders, Matt Murdock wakes up in a hotel room and then he just fucking disappears?
She's gone.
Imagine being in the fucking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. writing room and being like, hey, do you know what happens in the movie that comes out a month from now? No, they won't fucking tell us. And then you fucking find out and you're like, what the fuck are we gonna do? What do we do?
Yeah, how are we
what are we supposed to do?
They watch the movie and they're like, oh shit.
Now, here's what I'll say. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. highly benefited from Winter Soldier. But because Winter Soldier dismantled S.H.I.E.L.D. and that put the show in a new direction where it was like, now they're not this government agency, now they're like an undercover agency. Great change. But everything beyond that, I don't know. They don't care about this show. And that upsets me. That upsets me.
Yep. Before you tap your head, Zero, did they make any reference to it in Ant-Man and Wasp?
Yeah.
The finger snap?
Oh,
yes, they do.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
Not in the movie though. In the after credit scene.
It was rough though. Like when I saw it, I was like, "Damn, that's bad."
All right.
I'm gonna tap my head, but I want to keep talking for a second. The reason I'm talking about all this is because Coulson dies in this movie. Coulson, a major player. I mean, he was minor cast, but like in all of the movies, literally all of them. And now he's been alive this entire fucking time, and they won't even just fucking say his name. They won't even say his goddamn name.
It is fucked. Like, come on. They're just like pretending the shows don't exist, and I don't know why. Like, they want it to be connected, and it's not a difficult thing to do.
They fucking wonder.
Like, they wonder why that bulletproof black guy.
They wonder why like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is gonna be fucking canceled. No one's watching it because and Agent Carter too got fucking canceled because no one's watching it because you fucking say same universe, but you're not gonna fucking even look at them.
Yeah. Just don't even acknowledge their existence.
All right,
Whatever,
I'm done.
man.
Go ahead. You can fucking continue.
All right, we ready? Took a bit of a
Bit of a
different
detour.
course. Yeah.
I think we're at an hour now, and we haven't even finished. We're not even in the third act of the movie. Yeah, go ahead. Let's go.
So, Iron Man and Cap head to the place where the cage was, and they mention the cellist. And Iron Man's like, Loki is a huge diva, and he wants his name in bright lights.
I'm sorry. I need to interrupt again. You know who's on Agents of
2
S.H.I.E.L.D.?
seconds in.
This is just a weird tangent. You know who appears on it? Lady Sif. Why? Why did
What?
she?
That
Lady
is
Sif
Such a weird.
That's
being
a
the
weird
Asgardian
choice.
Thor's friend. She's in like 2 of the episodes, and I don't know.
I mean, I wanted to see more of her after Thor.
Yeah.
But
I still
in
want to see
Agents of
more of her.
S.H.I.E.L.D.,
I mean, she's the only one who tapping my head for Thor Ragnarok spoilers. She's the only one who like is like ambiguous about whether or not she died and when Halleck killed everyone. So clearly they know that like if we care about any of these fucking Asgardian losers, it's gonna be Lady Sif. But they haven't noted on her in any aspect. So I'm fine with Lady Sif. I want more of her. I don't know. Tapping my head for Thor Ragnarok spoilers again. There we go.
All right. Continuing. There, Iron Man's like, yeah, he's a full-time diva. He wants his name and pretty lights, and Cap gives him a look, and he's like, son of a bitch wants my tower. Which to me seemed like an obvious choice, considering that they were talking earlier about how it's sustained off of like his
Arc reactor.
prototype of the.
Actually, there we
arc
go.
reactor.
Let's fucking wrap this back up to Iron Man 1. I said, I don't know what this arc reactor does, but it seems like clean energy. Oh, but I should really fucking care about this. I was fucking right. This is literally clean energy that they weren't looking into for whatever fucking reason. And now it is the...
Well,
Go ahead.
Because they were making weapons.
Hmm.
They were too busy making weapons
Were
to
you-
focus on clean energy.
Were you going to say something,
That's-
Zero?
I mean, I feel like it was just because it didn't work until Tony made it work.
But they didn't... Why wasn't Tony making it work? I don't... Like... I mean, we already know it worked to an extent because it was powering his lab. Like, that was confirmed in Iron Man 1. So they just weren't continuing to develop it for whatever reason. Obadiah even calls it a fucking hippie stunt or whatever the fuck he said.
Yeah.
Like, this is clean energy. I don't know, maybe fucking 2008 this wasn't a big deal, but it's a big deal now.
Yeah.
All these fossil
All right.
fuels, man.
So they head out. Oh no. We have Black Widow is in a room with a recovering Hawkeye, and she's like, trying to get him to come to, and he's like, how many people did I kill? And she's like, you can't worry about that. Loki took control of you.
Another +1 for Black
Interest-
Widow.
What's that?
I said another +1 for Black Widow. That is a good line.
But then she was like, it was like in the several thousands, though. Like,
Yeah, it was a
wasn't-
lot of people.
I don't think it was that many. I mean, it was like...
No, it was a couple hundred.
Because he didn't
Or not a
directly
couple
kill
hundred,
many people. He was like, I mean, indirectly, sure, he took
That
out
we
that entire
saw.
helicarrier, but
yeah.
I mean, indirectly, he's pretty much responsible for all of New York City about to be destroyed. But I mean, directly,
yeah.
he didn't really do much.
Yeah, I guess.
So they hear about the new mission and they head out. Iron Man heads straight to Stark Tower and finds Loki's already there waiting for him. And he kind of parlays with him in his room and offers him a drink. And he's like, listen, you've managed to piss off everybody in the Avengers. And Loki's like, what does it matter? I have an army. And he's like, we have a Hulk. And Loki's like, that doesn't
Can
mean
I just
anything."
say that, I'll be honest, Tony did not win this debate. I mean,
No.
he was like, you're missing the point. No matter what happens, you don't win because you just don't. And Loki's like, what are you talking? Like, if I just kill everyone, I win. That is what happens. And Tony's like, no, because here's what you're not seeing. Even if you win, which maybe happens, even if you kill everyone, which maybe happens, we're gonna fucking fight you. And it's like, I'll just fucking kill you too. Like, Loki wins this debate so
My
handedly.
plan is to kill all of you. Like, what aren't you getting?
It's like, yeah, if you're all dead, I win. And then he's like, all right, well, you're being dumb, so I'm just going to mind control you. And he taps his little arc reactor, and it doesn't work. And he's like, this usually works.
See, I feel like it would have worked if he just, like, touched
Did it
skin.
somewhere else? Yeah.
Well, no.
Yeah, that
did
seemed
it.
pretty straightforward.
This is subtext telling us that Tony really doesn't have a heart. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, he's a heartless bastard.
But that's the mind gem.
yeah. So, fuck you. Huh?
He's brainless. It's confirmed.
Tony Stark, the brainless character.
You know, learns about gamma radiation overnight, but he's brainless. So he's like, all right, well, if I can't mind control you, I'll just throw you out a window. That's just as good.
See, plan B, just kill him. It works.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it doesn't work.
And he's like, really? I win, and throws him out a window. So, but Tony, he's got a suit up his sleeve. Not literally, but...
Not yet.
Yeah, kind of, but it heads out, shoots out like a missile right for him, picks him up, saves his butt. Meanwhile, the portal opens up as the other Avengers are arriving. And we get the big CGI fight, the biggest up to this point, actually.
Yeah, most ambitious, for
Jatari.
sure.
Yeah, definitely. And the Jatari are just pouring out of this portal, and they're doing their best to fight them off. Thor shows up, and they release this big worm-like thing. It looked really good.
Yeah,
It was
I mean,
gross,
here's
but
the
it looked
deal.
good.
Let's just skip through all of this bullshit. The fact of the matter
It's
is,
a lot of fighting.
it's a lot of fighting. It's really cool. Great, like, directing here.
Yeah.
I mean, so many just follow shots of, you know, moving from one Avenger to the next. All really, really great. But it's just a bunch of fighting. So let's just fucking skip to the part where Hulk shows up.
Yeah.
Skip
So
to
there's a lot of fighting. The only thing of particular note is Loki jumps off of Stark Tower, flies around for a bit, and then gets shot back to Stark Tower, where Hulk proceeds to beat the crap out of him. The fight's drawing to an end, and the UN Security Council is like, "Hey, we got to nuke the city." And Fury's like, "No, you don't. That's a terrible idea. I'm not going to nuke the city." And they're like, "All right, well, screw you. We're going to nuke the city." So they go and they shoot a nuke at the city. And
which, by the way,
Fury,
this fucking shield ship just carries nukes on it. At least two.
Apparently.
At least two nukes, because one ship was shot down and the other one just went.
Yeah.
So this fucking random helicarrier just has two nukes on it.
See, Shield is sketchy.
Yeah, they do sketchy stuff. That's why Loki didn't want it in the fight. He knew.
Yeah, let me just get rid of their nukes.
Yeah,
that would have been a good plan.
Yeah.
As opposed to, let me make all the Avengers personally hate me.
Yeah, that maybe not the best. So they shoot the nuke. Fury's like, "Hey guys, there's a nuke coming in," and Captain America is like, "What's a nuke?" No, he doesn't say
that. He should have.
Yeah, he should have.
Actually, he was very closely following Project Manhattan. What it was.
Yeah,
happening.
he was. He knew Howard Stark, so
yeah, why not?
That's true. Howard Stark, while he was just messing around with S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff, he was also just in his spare time developing
nuclear bombs.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Just a thing he does.
He was a busy man, multifaceted.
9 to 3 he was with S.H.I.E.L.D., and then 3 to 5 he was on the fucking Manhattan Project. What the fuck?
Yeah,
that's a full work day right there.
So Iron Man's like, "I got this nuke," and he grabs it and he flies up into the portal as Black Widow's getting ready to close it, and he's like, "Don't close it, I gotta get rid of this nuke." And he throws it up into the portal, goes into the portal for like 10 seconds with it, and they're like, "He's not coming back, close the portal." And he manages to fall out in the nick of time.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, it's not even like a sorrow thing. Cap's like, just fucking close it right now. As soon as he goes through, just fucking close the fucking portal.
It's just literally like 5 seconds goes by, and he's like, close it.
Like, damn, at least give me 12 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, if it had been 8 seconds, he wouldn't have made it.
That's true.
Iron Man falls through right in the nick of time. Almost crash lands, but Thor manages to pick him up and save him.
No, you got that completely wrong. It was Hulk.
No, oh yeah, Hulk. My bad.
It happens.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's not like I saw this earlier today. Yeah, Hulk jumps up and grabs him and crash lands with him. And they take his mask off, and they would do CPR, but, you know, he's in an Iron Man suit. There's nothing they can do. He's dead. So Hulk screams in his face and wakes him up. And he's like, you guys want to get shawarma? Let's get shawarma.
Oh, also of note that the nuke does go off in space and destroys the entire Chitauri.
Yeah, wrecks their ship.
Yeah.
All in a day's work.
Yeah, you know, just doing the do. So they head out. They disassemble. Fury's giving and talking to the security council, and they're like, well, you can't just let them go. And he's like, yeah, I can. And I did. And they left with a Tesseract on
You
top
gotta
of
imagine that, like, come on, Nick. I mean, like, as the audience member, sure, you're making the right choice, but, like, you are in a position of power here, and you have disobeyed the council twice. I mean, like, that is... What are you doing?
Yeah, no,
they tried to nuke Manhattan. Fuck these guys.
But they, like, their reasoning was... Okay, they're like, Nick, we have to nuke Manhattan because, like, if we don't, then the world's gonna end. And he's like, fuck you. I mean, he just fucking swears at them. He's like, a stupid-ass decision. And they're just like, I mean, at least put up a counter-argument. Like,
yeah. Yeah, he's not very good at explaining himself.
True. And when he does, he lies.
Yeah.
As Nick Fury has a whole character right there.
Pretty much. So, Loki and Thor head back to Asgard. The rest of the team kind of breaks up. Hulk goes into hiding,
I mean, Hulk drives off with Tony, and we don't know.
We don't really know where any of them go.
Yeah, because the next time we see Tony, he's just in his thing chilling with Pepper. So I don't know. I don't know what Hulk's doing in this equation.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows?
They were just hanging out for a weekend.
Yeah, just getting some shawarma. Yeah, so they break up, and the last shot we get is of it's Tony at Stark Tower, right?
Yeah, he's building the Avengers base.
Yeah. And then we have the after credits scene of them getting the first one is
the humans are an unruly bunch, which means they cannot be ruled.
Yeah. Power Ranger guy is like, hey, Loki messed up, and these humans, they're pretty tough.
Pretty unruly. I would call them unruly. Yeah, for sure.
Humans, they're really unruly. We can't rule them.
Fuck you.
To fight them, that's like courting death. And Purple Grimace turns around.
He says, get it? Did you guys read the comic book? You guys like comic books? I'm a comic book character.
Guy.
That's my
Got
thing.
him. Yeah.
Fuck you. I fucking hate this movie now.
It's too late for Derek. He's...
And then one more after
credits. The last after credit scene, the after credit scene, is of them all sitting around eating shawarma. And like it's kind of funny, but I didn't like it because like there's not a single line of dialogue. It's just them
and it's a long
eating
shot.
shawarma.
It's a long shot. But here's what I like about it. One little thing I noticed. Well, two things I've noticed. One is that of course, most people know this. Cap has a beard. That's why he this was like an after the like they shot the whole movie and then he goes on to a different project, but they bring him back for this one. That different project was a movie called Snowpiercer. Great movie. Everyone should watch it.
Yeah, fantastic.
But he has a beard for that movie. So when he comes back, he couldn't shave his beard off. He was still filming that movie, so they just have him cover his face. That's something most people know. Other thing that I thought was, this isn't trivia, but just something I like noticed I thought was kind of cute, was that Barton, Hawkeye, just has his leg up on Natasha's chair. And I was like, man, look at these guys. They're friends. You know, like, hey, these guys really are friends.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically the plot to the Avengers movie.
More or less.
I really hate myself now. I don't know. I think the movie's still great. I just hate myself. Let's talk about things I love about this movie. The team up. Great. I thought, and it was what I think was so great. Not only because I already talked about like the first 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes great, but also the ups and downs that the team up goes through and how it ultimately leads them together. Supernatural. It never felt like, well, it's an Avengers movie, of course they're going to team up. And this is something like, you play D&D, you probably have done this before, where you're playing and, it's like, you all know we're playing a game, even though my character wouldn't team up with people, I'm going to fucking team up with people. Everyone knows this, and that does not feel like that at all in this movie. It is not obligatory. They totally... They go in and out, it's ebbs and flows, and they finally come together, and when they do, it's like, yes, of course, this totally makes sense, they are together. So, and I think a lot of that is helped by the fact that, literally right before they joined together for their highest high, they were all at their lowest low. So because of that, I think that really just was great. Other thing that I love about this movie, and I'll bring this up all the time. I brought it up last week. Captain America's arc. Great. I love this is when we see it. The last movie we talked about it. This is Captain America. That was Captain America at his, I'm a good poster boy for America.
Yeah.
Now we're starting to see the cracks. Captain America's like he is like, Shield gave us orders.
Hydra shit.
He's like, Shield gave us orders. I'm going to follow these orders. And then Tony's like, but have you tried weed? And he's like, but Dad says I can't smoke weed. And then he's like, no, I'm not going to. But then he leaves and he's like, I want to smoke weed. So he goes and fucking finds the fucking Tesseract weapons. It's like, this isn't weed at all. This is a fucking nuke.
It's like, wow, weed has really evolved in these 7 years.
I'm starting to lose track of my metaphor here. Yeah, like this is, you start to see cracks because he just has a fucking hunch. He just has a hunch that there's something wrong, and it's proved right. He is proven right that there was something wrong with this government agency. That is the splitting of the log, and that is like, so much is built from this moment of like why he doesn't trust SHIELD and why he doesn't trust government agencies and why he has a strong idea of what the world should be and why he fucking fights for that. And I think this is the beginning of it all. Fucking great character.
Yeah. This is really where you see him start to understand the world in Technicolor,
Yeah. So these are all
because
the
it was
things.
only black and white before.
Yeah.
These are, yeah, okay. Thank you. Those were some things I wrote down for reasons why I fucking love this movie. And then, of course, we could talk about some other stuff as we get into the segments. But what do you guys love about this movie?
I guess I'll go. Jeez. There's so many good things about this movie. So the most unnatural character to me is Thor. But yeah, everybody else, like, they just kind of come in and it's all like SHIELD brought them together. You see why they're there. You know why. It makes sense. It's the other thing I like is that the superhero fights. There's a lot of times when the heroes are fighting each other. And I really like that because, yeah, it's not a foregone conclusion that they're just going to team up and everything's going to work out. One thing I hate is a predictable plot. If I can get, like, a third of the way into the movie and be like, all right, this person's going to die, these people are going to fall in love, whatever, the movie becomes really, really boring to me. But for this, like, we start off and already Hawkeye is mind controlled. And I was like, what's even going on? And I thought that was really good. There was a lot of points in the movie where they threw you for a loop, they kind of twisted things around, but it all seemed very natural and all worked for the movie and got them where they needed to be.
Now, I know we're supposed to be saying stuff we like, but
Sure. Okay.
I didn't really... I wasn't a huge fan of the treatment of Hawkeye in this movie, because we only previously saw him in Thor 1 for that one scene where he just shows up and doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Whereas Black Widow, we get a lot of her in Iron Man 2. And I'm not saying, less Black Widow. Well, maybe. But come on, more Hawkeye.
Are you really saying no? Don't fucking take back that maybe. There's no way you think. There's no way you think. Listen, I am keeping track in the Black Widow watch. We have only had one movie with her, and it's not her movie. There's no way you were saying maybe less Black Widow. Fuck you.
Well, I'm saying, of the two characters who are not going to get their own movie, we've already had a fair amount of focus on Black Widow in previous
Why
movies.
would we... Let's talk about that for a second. Why do we not have a Black Widow movie? This isn't even like some SJW bullshit about I don't know. Why does this character not have a fucking movie? This is...
No, yeah, I
don't know.
fully support the idea. She should definitely have her own movie. I definitely think she can do that.
I'll fucking...
her character.
I will settle for a Hawkeye Black Widow movie. Have them team up. That's fine. I'll take that too. Just give me a movie with them as the main characters. And I don't want anyone to fucking tell me that, they're just not that interesting. Fuck you. I mean, seriously, fuck you. Just fucking die. All right? I'm not even going to respond to that.
Late now. But
it is...
no, because I think we could go prequel. I think we could go prequel with it. I mean, fucking Captain Marvel's going prequel,
yeah, that's true.
That's fair. I would like a S.H.I.E.L.D. movie, centered around those two.
I mean,
I think it'd be good to, see how they first meet.
I mean, there's so much that I want. I mean, I wish Agent Carter wasn't a TV show because that would have been a good movie. I mean, I don't know if the TV show's bad or not. I haven't seen it, but I think you brought up S.H.I.E.L.D. I think there's a fucking 100-year history, and we're probably gonna get some of it in Captain Marvel, presumably. I don't know if you guys heard the news, but Nick Fury is gonna be in Captain Marvel, and they're de-aging him for the entire movie. So for de-aging in the sense of the way they did it with
with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. So
when does Captain Marvel take place?
It takes place in the 80s.
What?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I did not.
Oh,
huh.
Well, yeah, that's been out for a while. So, yeah, I mean, whatever is going on in that movie, that's a prequel, and so I would totally take. I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s clearly got some fucking interesting stuff going on. I like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Whatever. Just fucking kill myself.
He's just mad.
Is it? Do you think? Okay, here's me being optimistic. Do you think it's because they think a Black Widow movie needs to be R-rated, and they're just not sure if they could do that yet?
No.
You don't think that's at all true?
I believe they have the impression that. So, I don't know. I think at this point they're just focused on so many other things, like the build up to Infinity War, that it just got sidelined. They didn't think that it was going to be. They didn't think that these characters were going to be as well liked as they are, and so they assumed that they wouldn't need or warrant their own movie. But Black Widow has been so successful, I feel like if they were going to go back and do this again, she would get her own movie. But I feel like because they've come so far and they have to focus on so many other things to build up towards what they're doing next, that's got sidelined and they're not going to be able to do it.
I'm just worried that we might be past the due date. I feel like, I don't know. Scarlett Johansson's not going to want to do this role forever. No. I mean, she is a talented actress. She's going to want to move on to other stuff, and I'm going to be upset. That upsets me.
We're never going to get the Black Widow movie, boys.
Zero, did you have anything else you want to say about things you love about this movie?
Or do you not love anything?
I mean, I feel like it's all just stuff we've touched on, The group chemistry was good. The writing was good. The pacing, it was just all good.
Yeah.
It's just a good movie. Go watch it.
One of the things about this movie that I thought made it, really helped it, was the dialogue. There was a lot of moments that were just freaking hilarious. When
I love my memes.
Yeah, when they've killed that giant worm thing and Hulk just punches Thor. Just
that's a great moment of dialogue.
Yeah, it's a great moment of dialogue. It's my favorite line.
I speak in punches.
I mean,
that's my language.
But every scene with Black Widow, she's got something.
Well, let's put a pause in that. Before we get into Black Widow watch, let's do the villain ranking. not zero. Kaiser, hit us with the villain ranking list as it stands before Avengers.
All right, so prior to Avengers, we have, where's my list? Oh, there it is. The current list is Loki, Red Skull, Abomination, Whiplash, Justin Hammer, and Obadiah Stane from best to worst.
Now, in a clarification, the way you were going to be doing this is because Loki doubles up, you are keeping Loki as one spot, but you are adjusting him like as a total character now. And also, just in terms of a villain. So when we get to like Thor Ragnarok where he's not a villain, you aren't going to...
He's not going to be adjusted.
Yeah, okay. So with that said, let's talk about Loki a little bit. Do you like him? Let's just start off with the broad question. Do you like him in this movie more than you'd like him in Thor?
More than I like him in Thor?
Because
he was pretty strong in Thor.
Yeah, I don't like him. And here's the deal.
He was really strong in Thor. I can't say I like him more in this movie now.
I'm really surprised we all agree on this, because most of the world does not.
I know.
Most of the world thinks Loki and Avengers fucking nailed it. And I don't...
See, here's the thing. I don't think that it's that people love Loki so much. I mean, people like crazy villains, cough cough Joker, and he kind of brings that in. But I also think the other thing is he's just in a lot of really good scenes, like the thing where Black Widow's interrogating him.
Yeah,
that's a good scene.
Hulk beats the crap out of him and says "puny god."
Yeah,
that's a good scene too.
When Iron Man takes Thor off the cliff and he's like, I'm listening. Like, he just has a lot of these moments that were high points in the movie, whereas overall in Thor, he was like the best part of that movie. I don't think
there's just like there's so much depth to his character in Thor that I just didn't see here. Now, I said let's put a pause in this and I'll talk about it more here. So the thing I was talking about earlier is, to me, that's not to say that I don't think there's any depth, because to me, when I watched this Loki, and we talked about how in Thor, I don't think he wanted to be king. I think he just wanted to, be his father's son. In this one, that doesn't track, because he wants to be king. I mean, he wants to rule Earth.
No.
Here's how I interpret that. I think after being let down by Odin and being like shunned away again, I think he thinks he wants to be king. I think this is his sort of fuck you to Odin, is like, I'm going to be independent. Fuck you. I'm not becoming king for you. I'm becoming king for me. I'm going to rule Earth. That's how I perceive it. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't think, if that's all that there is, I don't think there's a ton of depth to Loki in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that's why I don't like him as much.
My problem with Loki is how non-linear he is. Like, he's not an arc. He has a different arc every movie. And it's really, really, really annoying. Because they keep bringing him back, and he's like a completely different character in every movie he's in. His character doesn't seem to grow at all in any way. Whereas,
because you look at it like, whether or not he is the villain is 100%, or whether or not he acts like the villain is 100% on whether or not he is the villain. Like, that's like, if he is not the villain of the movie, then he just acts like a fun guy. But if he's the villain, then suddenly he's like, everyone dies.
Yeah, slightly asshole brother before.
Yeah,
still lovable, forgivable.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest complaint. Whereas, like, and I get that these are main characters and heroes, but Captain America and Iron Man have fantastic character progressions. Even Thor, like, you can see how his character gets from point A to point B. Loki, there's none of that.
About Hulk's arc. How dare you?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. All right. Sure.
I still don't get. I mean, okay. Someone explain it to me in the comments. What does I'm always angry even mean? What does that mean? Because no, you're not. You are not always angry. Because you were
always a mad boy.
You were specifically angry on the helicarrier. That's what happened. You got angry and you fucking destroyed everyone. So what are you gonna say, huh, Bruce? You were fine then? Was that a conscious choice? Because then you're fucking arrested. You're going to jail. That's I don't get it. I don't get what he means.
That line has always like kind of confused me, despite how cool it is. Like I just sort of accepted it. But...
Everyone fucking says like, "Oh my god, what a great line!" And yeah, when it happens and he fucking transforms, what a cool scene. But like, what does it mean?
The scene is cool.
What does it fucking mean?
Yeah, like what does that imply mechanically?
Yeah, it just means he's also playing fourth dimensional chess, and we just don't know it.
That's why Loki was so interested in him, you know?
I would have rather the line been, "That's my secret, Captain. Sometimes I can occasionally control the Hulk a little bit." I think that's a much cooler line.
I can do that.
That is my secret.
But just a little bit. You know, not a ton.
So,
I could kind of aim it.
So Loki, since that's where we were at in this point of the podcast, Loki is he does the part of the villain well here, even though that doesn't carry over or translate in any way. Like you can kind of see how he's got from Thor to here, even though what he does in the movies after this makes less sense. But the character progression seems alright, fairly straightforward. And I also feel like he's kind of picked Earth to kind of, like, just as a fuck you to Thor. And overall, I think that he does, like, he's being Loki. He's weaving these intricate plots, and he's making everything more complicated than it probably needs to be. And he's messing with everybody, and he's teleporting, and just, you know, he's being true to his character while also being more sinister than he was in Thor. So it seems at first glance, without, you know, knowledge of the movies that are to come, that he has progressed in some way just towards being more evil. So I think that really it really is okay for this movie. It does good. It works. And for that, he's going to remain number one for the time being.
And so the list, as it stands, one more time,
is Loki at the top, then Red Skull, then Abomination, then Whiplash, then Justin Hammer, then Obadiah Stane.
And with that, we move on to the Black Widow watch. Now, if you guys remember, Iron Man 2 currently sits at number 1, the only appearance. Mm-hmm. I actually really like Black Widow and Iron Man 2. That is not a consolation prize. That is a number 1 deserved spot, and not just because it's the only spot. But I'm just going to fucking get this out of the way. Avengers, number 1, Iron Man, number 2. Now, here's the reason. Part of what I loved so much about this movie was that they didn't try to make her crazy, like super talented, amazing, whatever. She was amazing. I mean, we saw what she did in Iron Man 2, where she was like, 1, an amazing assassin, and then 2, she was like very manipulative. She was able to trick Tony with like the way she speaks. We saw that in this movie, but at the same time, we contrasted that with 2 specific moments that I think of. 1, right after she fights Hulk gets away, she is sulking in a corner, and they're like, Barton is on the loose. Does anyone copy? And she takes a second, and she is shaking, and she's like, copy. And that moment, I felt like that moment impacted me so much. I mean, she is a human being. They do not try to make her anything other than a human being. She just fought the fucking Hulk, and she is scared. And but on top of that, despite being scared, she says, "It's still my duty. That's still my friend. I'm gonna go fucking fight him. I'm gonna go save him." I thought that was great. Second moment, she's about to jump on. It is in New York City. They're fighting the Chitaris, and they need someone to get to Stark Tower. She has the idea to jump on a Chitauri soldier. And to do this, she jumps on Cap's shield. Before she does that, though, she is visibly exhausted from the fight. I mean, you look at Cap, and he is also somewhat tired, but he, for the most part, is fine. You look at Natasha, and she is fucking tired because she is a human, and this is a war, and she is a fucking foot soldier compared to the Hulk, who is running around destroying everyone. And she's like
fighting aliens with Wakanda weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, she is like, in that moment, she has to take a deep breath and like, you know, take a breather and like, you know, just pause, and then she does her fucking amazing acrobatic shit and then flies up to the fucking Stark Tower. And I thought these 2 moments were so humanizing for Natasha. I thought this did such a fucking amazing job with her character. Fuck you for not giving me a Black Widow movie. Avengers number 1, Iron Man number 2. I'm done with the Black Widow watch. Zero, did you read any comics? I forgot to ask you beforehand.
I did not.
Yeah, that's fine. I would have told you not to, because the Avengers origin is just it's way too different for the. I mean, because like different roster entirely.
It's like a completely different team.
Yeah, so it's really not even worth revisiting. So no comic this time around. Now, we're gonna do the ranking for the movies right now. But if you're watching this, we're gonna rank the movie. There's gonna be something after, so stick around. Now, the list as it stands: number 1, Captain America; number 2, Iron Man; number 3, Iron Man 2; number 4, Thor; number 5, Hulk. In my head, I think this goes number 1. I mean, I really liked Captain America, and I had a lot of good things to say about that movie, but I just think, like, you can't deny that this movie fucking nailed it out of the park. Everything, it was such a complicated thing to have to do, you know, like the fact that, you know, the fact of the matter is it had 5 movies building to this, but only 5 movies establishing individual characters. No one like was linked other than fucking Black Widow and Tony Stark. So like the fact that it had such a complicated task at hand with, and you know, it fucking needed to pay off all these characters, and I think it fucking nailed it. So
it made it the most ambitious crossover ever.
As much as I love Captain America, I think you just have to give this number 1 spot to Avengers. That's my current thoughts.
Yeah,
I do feel like this elevated the game.
Kaiser.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with Zero on that one, and I do think it's definitely helped propel them. But yeah, I mean, I struggled with it a lot because I really liked Captain America, but the reason I liked Captain America, and something that we kind of brought up during that video, was that one of the things to like about it is the simplicity. It's like, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. It's very straightforward. Good guys are fighting bad guys. Going forward, in hindsight, we know that the MCU gets significantly more complicated than that. And I think that Avengers was a good introduction to that more complicated world. And and that, to me, is what gives it number 1. I think it was a good introduction into Phase 2.
All right, so just a formality. We're going to vote. Do we all agree? Avengers number 1?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, the list as it stands right now. Number 1, Avengers. Number 2, Captain America. Number 3, Iron Man. Number 4, Iron Man 2. Number 5, Thor. And number 6, Hulk. Now, before we close this out, we're going to do something a little special. If you guys remember, back in the Thor review, I believe, Kaiser made the comment.
No, this was Captain America.
No, you're wrong.
Okay, excuse me.
Originally, we were going to do this for the Captain America review, but in the Thor review, you said,
yeah,
I think Loki was the best villain to go into Avengers, and we all agreed with you.
I guess I am wrong.
But that sparked an interesting thought in my head. Avengers, great movie. If you had to rewrite it with a different villain that was not Loki, how would you do it? Which character would you use? So, what we're going to do right now, have a little bit of a mini debate. We've all picked out characters that we think could be a villain for an Avengers movie. We're going to pitch those movies, and then you guys in the comments can decide who has the best idea. Now, all canon leading up to the Avengers movie is considered and has to be factored into your movie. So we're talking about Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Captain America, Thor, and Hulk. All of that needs to be considered going into this movie. The things that happened in Avengers, not the things that happened in the original Avengers movie that we just reviewed, not factored. Everything that comes after that, not factored. So Thanos, Infinity Stones, where characters end up, irrelevant. Doesn't need to be factored in. Doesn't need to be factored in at all. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and start with Kaiser. Kaiser, what's your pitch?
Why do I have to start?
Because I said so.
I want to start.
Okay.
I
changed my mind. 0. You start.
Right. So I would use the Frost Giants in Loki's place. I played around with the idea of using Ronin to save the Thanos subplot, or using Hulk to focus more on the central cast. But these characters do need to unite against a common enemy. I think one of the benefits of picking Loki was that Thor would be invested in stopping him personally, while all the other Avengers just want to defend Earth. And I think that idea is preserved with the use of the Frost Giants, and here's how I would do it. So, after, Thor won, Loki tries to use the Bifrost to destroy, what is it, Jotunheim? Jotunheim. So, I figure they're probably going to be pretty mad about that. You know, we don't really see any consequences in the MCU, but, you know, I would like to imagine they're pretty pissed off. So, they're like, fuck this, we're going to go get revenge. And how do they do it? Well, they used to have this really powerful weapon, but it's gone. Where is it, though? Oh, it's on Earth? Fuck yeah, we could, you know, 2 birds, 1 stone. Asgard beat us on Earth. We're gonna go back, we're gonna get the Tesseract, then we're gonna sneak into Asgard, steal all their weapons because the Destroyer's gone, and then we're gonna fuck up the whole place. So that's their plan. So, in this movie, Captain America would be, he's been doing missions for S.H.I.E.L.D. for a while. Iron Man's doing Iron Man stuff, and Hulk is in hiding, as we saw in India. And that's where the Frost Giants would initially touch down. And, you know, we wouldn't really see too much of this, but, you know, Hulk would go Hulk. He'd fight the Frost Giants. He would, you know, they just overwhelm him with sheer numbers, but they see like a thundercloud, you know, rising over the horizon. They're like, oh shit, that's Thor. We gotta get out of here, alright? We don't have our full force because half the planet was wiped out by the Bifrost or whatever. So, let's move on to our next stage of the plan. So, we cut to S.H.I.E.L.D. They're, like, debriefing Captain America, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. They're just all there. It's fine.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Who was the list again?
Captain America, Black Widow, and Hawkeye.
Okay.
Like, the 3 active agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They, you know, they're being told these frost giant things. I don't know if Earth knows about frost giants, but these frost giants and this big green monster that had this big punch up in India, and a lot of people died, and it's real bad. We don't know what they're doing here or where they are right now, because everyone involved in this situation is completely off the grid. So, you know, we got to keep our eyes open. They don't know where Iron Man is. He's not answering their calls, but that's when they hear a big boom. What's that? Oh, it's Frost Giants? Shit. So the Frost Giants are sieging S.H.I.E.L.D. because that's where the Tesseract is. And, you know, these 3 characters, they're good, but can they beat Frost Giants? The answer is no. So they're like fighting back. Iron Man actually does show up because he was like aware of the situation, but, you know, he just wasn't answering his phone because he's a jackass. So he shows up to help. But, you know, just like the Frost Giants have a fairly sophisticated attack. They end up invading S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters and escaping with the Tesseract. Actually, my notes on this got deleted, so I'm not sure if this is where I had Thor come in for this fight. I think it was, actually, because after that scene, Thor and pretty much everyone in the Avengers, except Hulk, because he didn't show up, are talking about it. They're like, alright, what's going on? What do they want with the Tesseract? What are they doing? We definitely can't let them have that, because it's too dangerous. Then, you know, this would also be a good moment for any inter-team headbutting that would go on, since, you know, it is Avengers. But it's all interrupted when one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. satellites pick up this big spike of energy in Norway. They're like, hey, what's going on there? Is that the Tesseract? Oh, no! So they go to respond to the threat. Iron Man and Thor get there first, because they're the fastest. They start fighting frost giants. It's a big brawl, and, they're doing well, but it's a lot of frost giants, You can't really stop them all. There's this pedestal with the Tesseract on it, and there's a bunch of portals opening up around it. These guys, they don't need any help dealing with the Tesseract like Loki, because they had that shit to begin with. They know how it works. So they... a bunch of frost giants are sort of entering these portals. Thor follows a group into one of them. Iron Man doesn't, because, why would he jump into an unmarked portal? That's probably dangerous. So, Thor, he jumps in the portal, he realizes, oh shit, I'm back in Asgard. Oh shit, the place is on fire. The Frost Giants plan is going off without a hit. Well, it's going off with a little bit of a hitch. The Asgardians are fighting back, but they broke into the armory. They stole as many of the magical weapons as they knew how to use, and they're just fucking the place up. Odin's fighting back. All the Asgardian soldiers are, but it is a war. So,
I'm sorry, hold on.
Earth.
Rewind for a second. Did you say Odin?
Yeah.
Okay.
So back on Earth, we got the other characters.
I was like, did you just cut out? What happened there?
Everyone else.
Iron Man's flying around fighting by himself, but he really can't do anything about this huge force. The rest of the Avengers show up, and then out of nowhere, big green monster jumps in, and they're like, oh, that's not a good guy, but look at this. He's actually fighting the Frost Giants instead of the Avengers. Who could have seen that coming? See, I forgot to explain this earlier, but Bruce Banner was supposed to be tracking them down, by monitoring the Tesseract's unique gamma radiation signature. And he just sort of finds him by himself. He's like, I'm the only person on Earth who can deal with this sort of thing. So he just sort of goes. But when he gets there, the Avengers are already fighting. And, they more or less just decide to fight together. So now, they realize whatever these frost demons are doing with these portals, it can't be good. But there's also just too many frost demons here in Norway to just leave. So they really do have to sort of stay and fight while the Asgardians are trying to defend their own realm. And fortunately, the fight on Earth is a little bit easier. They got Hulk, they got Iron Man. It's just frost demons, frost giants. Come on, it's not that big. It's not that big a deal. So they managed to subdue the threat, even though, partially because most of the frost giants are focused on attacking Asgard at this point, so they're all funneling into the portals anyway. But the ones who are getting left behind are getting taken out by the Avengers. And once the threat on Earth is settled, they're like, alright, time to go deal with this problem. So they go through the portal. They see, Asgard, and, they see shit's going down. So they meet up with Thor. He's like, hey, help us out, please. And they do. This big punch-up brawl, real climactic battle here. They, of course, sort it all out, as the heroes tend to. And, Odin's like, this time, the humans help defend Asgard. You guys are alright. And that's the Avengers.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
That's pitch number 1 for the Frost Giants. Now, before we get into debates and everything, we're just going to go through all the pitches. Kaiser, do you want to go next, or?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, sure. Yeah, whatever. All right. Me and Zero actually have a fair amount in common. My movie opens up with the Tesseract continuing to be tested on by Selvig, very similar to what we have in the original Avengers movie. Now, for dramatic effect, I'll reveal my character as I get to it. Someone has broken in to S.H.I.E.L.D. and a big mess is created. Whoever this person is, extremely powerful. They are just wiping away, destroying everyone. They're fucking everyone up. They grab the Tesseract and then teleport away. No one even knows that it could do that or what the fuck just happened, or, no one knows who that guy was. Meanwhile, Captain America, Black Widow, and Hawkeye out on a mission because they are working for S.H.I.E.L.D. at this point. Something I had similar with Zero. What they're doing, they're recovering an artifact known as the Nightbringer. And it's in possession with some monster on Earth known as the Exile, is what he's calling himself. They take him down. It's like this sort of mini boss fight, sort of similar to Winter Soldier. They take him down and bring back this Nightbringer, which is a little ring. They bring back the Nightbringer to S.H.I.E.L.D. And on their way back to S.H.I.E.L.D., they're informed that the Tesseract has been stolen. This is where we bring in, similar to the Avengers movie, bring in Banner and Tony for the same reason, for gamma specialization, trying to track down, where the Tesseract has gone. Now, suddenly, lightning striking all over the place, Thor comes in and attacks the Avengers, or S.H.I.E.L.D. They're not the Avengers yet, but he attacks S.H.I.E.L.D. And he is trying to take the Nightbringer away from S.H.I.E.L.D. Things eventually calm down because Thor can't beat them all, but they can't necessarily beat Thor. So they just sort of stop. They stop fighting, they realize it's futile. And Thor explains to them why he's there. He says, there's these things called the 10 Rings. And they're from outer space, and they do crazy shit. They are super powerful. And he explains that one of the rings was in the Asgardian vault, but it has been stolen. Asgard has been attacked. And the ring has been brought back to Earth. He's here to find it. Now, they realize through the conversation that the Nightbringer that they have is not the ring he's looking for, but it is one of the 10 rings. Now Tony enlightens them. He says, I think I know who did this. And he talks about this guy, the Mandarin. Mandarin known, he has these rings, and he is trying to collect them all, and he's trying to take over the world, basically. And Tony says, if we have the Nightbringer, then the Mandarin will come to us. We don't need to do anything. He'll fucking find us, and we'll fight him, and we'll take him down. But Captain America is a soldier. He was in World War II. He says, no, we have to go to him. We have to find the Mandarin and take him down before he has the chance. This is where the Tony and Captain America starts fighting. Now, while they're doing that, while they're having this spat, Captain America is right. The 10 Rings terrorist group attacks New York City. Immediately, all of S.H.I.E.L.D. and everyone in the Avengers, not the Avengers yet, but everyone in the Avengers but Bruce Banner says, we have to go to New York City. We have to stop the 10 Rings. Bruce says, no, I'm not going to fucking Hulk out. That's not what I want to do. That's not who I am. I'm going to stay behind. You guys handle this. They all go to New York City, deal with the attack. However, the attack was a distraction. Mandarin needs the Nightbringer. He needs to collect all 10 rings. So when they're attacking New York City, he goes and breaks into S.H.I.E.L.D. to look for this thing and finds Bruce Banner. Now, he attacks Bruce Banner, and Bruce basically has no choice but to Hulk out. They do a little bit of a spat, but ultimately, Mandarin uses one of his 10 rings to mind control Hulk. Now, a mind-controlled Hulk, similar to Age of Ultron, goes and attacks New York City just as the Avengers think they're going to win. Because it's the fucking Avengers, and it's just the 10 Rings terrorist group. And it's not a Chitauri army here. So they're about to win the fight fairly, there's casualties, there's loss, but they're about to win. Suddenly, a huge mind-controlled Hulk that none of them can handle shows up. And it is just a huge fight. And it's fucking going terrible for the Avengers. And while that's happening, the Mandarin has taken the Nightbringer. So he now has, presumably, all 10 rings. They nearly lose to the Hulk when, suddenly, S.H.I.E.L.D. brings out the big guns. They bring out these fucking alien weaponry powered by their research with the Tesseract. They do eventually beat Hulk, bring him back down to Bruce, and things seem to have settled down. But there is a lot of tension right now because Captain America, Tony, they're like, what the fuck was that? What is this weapon? What is going on here? And we basically get similar vibes to the Avengers movie, the original one, where it's like, now they're starting to not trust S.H.I.E.L.D. Now they're starting to not trust Fury. And a lot of this continuing is just dealing with the fallout of all of this. Meanwhile, in the background, Mandarin is just prepping to fucking kill everyone and take over the world. As he's doing this, Cap and Tony realize, like, there are bigger things involved here. We need, and the two of them team up to deliver a rousing speech that unifies the team. They assemble the Avengers, and they go on to fight a fully powered Mandarin in a huge, fucking awesome, not an army fight like Age of Ultron or whatever, the original Avengers movie, but more akin to like Infinity War fight with Thanos, where it is just one guy and all of them trying to pile onto him, but this one guy is just so powerful. And then basically then we get into the whole fucking fight. And that is the beginning of the final act of my film. And that's basically all I need to feel like I pitch. That's all I feel like I need to pitch. So that's my movie.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Kaiser.
All right. So I guess it's just me. So for my movie, we open up on the Western Front of the First World War. And there's a bunch of German soldiers in trenches, and they're talking about how there's a whole bunch of Americans just showed up on the other side. Then they hear guns firing, and they're faced with a massive assault of American troops. They're just pouring towards the trenches. And there's this one soldier in particular, and he's doing everything he can to take down these Americans. He's got his machine guns, he's shooting down as many as he can, but there's just so many, they overwhelm his trench. And they take down the guys next to him, and he himself is also subdued. Cut to, he's in a cell, and he's given a newspaper, and he is informed that the war is over. And he feels personally responsible for everything that's happened. He's like, if only I was better, if only I was stronger and faster, if I had only been able to take on more of these people, I could have avoided the humiliation that my army has felt, that my nation feels, and that I feel. Now we open up like the movie, like the normal Avengers movie, and the Tesseract is misbehaving, and they're wondering what's going on. And then boom, the portal opens, but out comes not Loki, but Red Skull. And he's super swole now, he's got that staff, and he's wearing this like power armor. And he's like, I have walked among the gods and been blessed with their powers, and now I'm come to take what is mine. So he attacks the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and just wrecks them. And he mind controls Selvig and Hawkeye, takes the Tesseract, and escapes. So Fury is like, well, we gotta assemble the Avengers. He pulls them all together. Cap's like, nothing at this point can surprise me, and he's like, $10 says you're wrong, Red Skull is back. And Cap just gives him $10. So they team up, and they get together at the helicarrier. They need Banner and Iron Man to track down the radiation, and they need the other guys in case a fight breaks out. So Fury's kind of debriefing them, and he has Cap come up and give a bit of a debrief, but Cap's like, I fought this guy once, and he used the Tesseract to make weapons. I don't know anything else about him. Like, I just know that he's willing to kill everyone in his pursuit of power. Next, we see Red Skull, and he's doing that meditation thing, that kind of projection, like Loki was doing, but he's not talking to the Power Rangers guy. He's talking to this larger guy who's kind of hidden in the shadows, and we don't really get a clear picture of him. But Red Skull informs him that he's got the Tesseract, things are proceeding as planned, and the guy is very, very proud of him. And he states that he knew when Red Skull appeared before him that it wasn't going to be worth killing him, that he should train him and make him stronger, give him the strength and the power that he was seeking, so that he could really shine and pursue, be the powerful man or the god that he wants to be. So we're back at the helicarrier, and they find out that Hydra is active in Germany, and they go to deal with that, and they find Red Skull's there with some Hydra agents.
Wait, quick question.
Hang on.
Are the Hydra agents, like, are they S.H.I.E.L.D., or, like, is that being explored here?
No, so, yeah, I skipped a part. So, if we back up a little bit, as they're assembling the team, like, right after that, before he does the meditation, Hawkeye leads him to a secret Hydra facility that S.H.I.E.L.D. has some notes on. And inside is Baron von Strucker and a small Hydra contingent. And Baron von Strucker, he's a huge fan. And he's like, all right, well, let me help you out here. Red Skull's like, good, because I'm taking back control of Hydra. And he's like, so I'm gonna need some of your men. So fast forward to where we were. They're heading into Germany, and Cap sees Red Skull. Yeah, he does basically the same. Red Skull does basically the same thing as Loki, where he steals the eye, and then kind of gives this speech about how low Germany has fallen, just like everyone else, and that all these countries are led by idiots and weak leaders, and so soon they'll see what real strength is. And then an old guy stands up and is like, hey, fuck you. And Red Skull's like, all right, I'm going to just kill this guy. But Cap shows in, saves him with the shield. And he's like, we're going to do this again because you're a dick. And Red Skull's like, all right, well, I'm more powerful than last time. And you can really see that in this fight. Red Skull is very much outmatching Cap, especially with the staff. He's just really outdoing him. But shortly thereafter, Iron Man shows up to help him, and the fight's evened out a little bit more, but Red Skull clearly has very much upgraded from the last movie. He's able to take them on both pretty well. He can take a lot of blows from even Iron Man. But even as he's taking them on, they hear lightning in the background, and down drops Thor. And he's come down, and he actually helps them in the fight. And Red Skull's like, all right, well, this is too much. I can't keep this up. They're like, who's this guy? What's he doing? They're a little bit distracted. Hydra agents attack them. Meanwhile, Red Skull bails out. They're wondering why Thor is here. And Thor explains that he's here to get the Tesseract because they're trying to rebuild the Bifrost, and they need the Tesseract in order to power it. So they head back to the helicarrier to meet up with Fury. And they're all in agreement about getting the Tesseract from Skull, but Thor and Cap, or Thor tells them that he needs to take it back to Asgard, and Cap sides with Thor. But initially, Iron Man, or I should say, Tony and Black Widow and Fury are very much against this. So an argument breaks out about this, and things start to get out of hand. Then Hydra sends some stealth planes to attack the carrier, and they take out one of the engines. Everybody splits up. Black Widow's trying to get Banner to safety so that he doesn't get too irritated, given that they were already in an argument. But as they're running, one of the planes hits the area that they're running across, floor caves down, and a similar scene to what happened the last time in the original movie happens. Hulk pursues Black Widow for a little while, and then she gets him to a window. Fury calls in a strike, and he goes down with the plane like in the other movie, with the no Thor fight. Meanwhile, Thor is taking out these planes with his godly powers, while Iron Man's trying to fix the engine, and Captain America's covering him, and he's ready to, he's trying to make sure he's there so he can pull that lever. However, when it comes time to pull the lever, he's really distracted by these Hydra agents. There's a lot of them, and he can't turn his back to get the lever without, opening himself up to Hydra agent fire. However, from one of the other corridors comes Coulson, who he's like, I'm going to back you. Go ahead. Get Iron Man. I can hold him. Unfortunately, he can't hold him, and he's gunned down by these Hydra agents after, making this last stand. He manages to take out what's left of him, but he is mortally wounded by their attacks. Now, what they come to find is that these weapons were powered by the Tesseract, which kind of reinforces the idea, Captain America's stance, that they shouldn't have them. And Iron Man is kind of swayed by that as well. So they reconvene in the helicarrier, and Fury Fury notes that, or back up a second, Black Widow also fights Hawkeye and manages to give him a good clock to the head. But Fury informs the group that Coulson has been brought down, and Cap mentions that it was by Tesseract power weapons, and that this is once again what's happened and what people do in the face of this. Later on, as they're trying to find Red Skull, Iron Man, who has hacked into the mainframe, has found out that Fury was trying to develop these weapons as well. And so now he's staunchly on the side of Cap, and he doesn't trust anything that Fury's doing. They bring this to Captain America, and the whole team is now in favor of letting the Tesseract go back to Asgard with Thor. So Hulk's missing, Coulson is dead, and they have no idea where Red Skull's going to strike. Tony, his suit got a little bit wrecked by the helicarrier propellers there, so he goes back to Stark Tower to get a new suit. But Red Skull is there, and he's with Selvig, and they're trying to build the portal that will summon the army. And he has a little bit of dialogue with Stark, where he's like, I knew your father, and I knew that he was a very intelligent man, and that he was working on... he was doing something similar to myself, where he was developing high-tech weaponry for the side that he thought was right. And he's like, but we've moved past that. I see that you share his intelligence, and I think that you should team up with me. And Tony's like, I don't team up with Nazis. And so Red Skull's like, all right, so I'll just mind control you then. And it doesn't work because, of course, he's got that nice arc reactor to buffer him. Red Skull, similarly to Loki, just tosses him out a window, and he calls forth his Iron Man suit and informs the team that Skull is in New York. So they send the Avengers to go and help deal with this. Chitauri invade like last time. Mid-invasion, or not mid-invasion, but closer to the end of the invasion, this nuke's coming, they have to close the portal, and they just barely manage to bring it down. Red Skull's still there, he confronts the group, they're kind of exhausted, but they're like, alright, well, we gotta take him. So Banner came back during the fight, and has assisted. So Skull's like, alright, I'm gonna fight you guys. And Cap's like, you're really gonna fight me? You're really gonna fight me, Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Hulk? And he's like, yeah. At this point, you've destroyed my army, and I will either die with my honor, or I'll kill you all. So they have a big fight. Red Skull fights them all, and he does pretty good, all things considered. He can go toe-to-toe with them for a while, but it becomes too much. And in the end, they go and they manage to defeat him. And he's like, they're gonna take him prisoner, but he absolutely refuses and kills himself. So Thor ends up leaving, taking the Tesseract back to Asgard. Hulk goes back into hiding, and Cap and Iron Man go on a campaign to kind of reform S.H.I.E.L.D. and get them to give up the weapons that they were powering up. So that's my pitch.
Alright, let's just get this out of the way. Kaiser, you just pitched the Avengers movie. You just pitched the original movie.
The same great movie with Red Skull.
I mean, to be fair, that was the idea.
It is a great movie. I just literally copy-paste Red Skull.
What the heck? I don't even... Yeah, I guess... What?
You shook. You didn't think I just fourth dimensional test you guys. Come on.
Beat by beat the exact same movie. Okay. But here's the problem. Because you copied the same movie, you lack all of the heart that came with Loki being involved. Instead, just introduced a Nazi. I mean, like, this is the same thing.
Well, there wasn't much.
This is the same
I actually think Thor now has a better reason to be there. This is the same thing we talked about at the last video, where we said Red Skull was not a good villain. He just happened to fit the movie well enough to be a good villain for that movie. And now you've taken that and you put him in a different movie where he will not be as good. And you also then removed... I think he'll be fine. I think that he adds... I think that he adds enough depths where it's like, all right, so this guy is clearly leading power-hungry aliens, and it's not so much about the depth that he adds, but what he adds to the continuity that's going to be coming up. Because he now has reinstated Hydra, which is going to be a big deal later on. We have Thor now has a better reason, I think, to come into Earth, because he's there to get the Tesseract to rebuild the Bifrost. So Thor has a reason to be there. It still brings everybody together in a great way. I still think they have the good fight that they need. There's a bit more personal stakes on behalf of Captain America. So I think that it works out just the same. I don't think that he detracts from the feel of the movie at all.
I mean, I just gotta disagree there. But on top of that, I will also say, I mean, we just had Captain America, and now the next movie you're bringing that villain back, and on top of that, you're changing the villain.
The movie before, all right, there's only one movie between Thor. There's only one movie between Thor and Avengers, and it's Captain America.
But on top of that, but on top of bringing the villain back immediately, you've also changed him in this really weird way where you say he is now like he now has a scepter and now he's walked the earth, and it's like, who is this guy that we just met? Like we knew him a day ago.
He definitely has the same motivations as last time. He's trying
Except
to
now he looks
build
weird.
An army and take over the world. Only now he's basically being funded by Thanos.
All right, and let's talk about Zero's pitch.
Let's talk about your final fight at the end there. So this guy has the capacity to mind control Hulk, but not the Avengers when they come and attack him. So he's powerful enough that he could build up enough strength to attack these guys and defend himself, but he can't just mind control them in the middle of this. Like, that's too much all of a sudden?
Yeah, I mean, Loki couldn't do it.
Yeah, Loki didn't have 10 magical rings. We don't know the full extent of this power, but this guy clearly has enough. Also, why isn't anybody else going to show up? Like, why wouldn't Odin be like, hey,
well, yeah, I can extend that same logic to you.
I need to get those.
I can also extend that logic to you and also the original Avengers movie. Let's talk.
But not to my pitch.
Well, let's talk. Well, let's talk about your pitch, Zero.
I think your pitch is weird because it has this complete character turnaround for Hulk, who's like, nah, I'm totally willing to go Hulk and fight these guys. Like, his whole thing was like, no, I'm trying to be in hiding. I don't want to be here. And all of a sudden, he's like, no, I'm going to fight guys.
Attacked the village he was staying in and all the people he was trying to help. So that I feel like that gives a reason to be personally invested. Especially, you know, he doesn't understand, or he doesn't fully recognize the scope of the threat that they pose to the Earth. And he lives on the Earth, so I think he'd want to help.
Well, let's talk about your pitch some more. One, you pitched your villain is an army, a race of beings. You didn't pitch a character, you didn't break any rules. But here's the problem with that. There's
less emotional stakes than my
I mean, it's
version.
literally just like a CGI wave of monsters that you just sort of, trudge through, and there's no emotion there. There's no like actual conflict to be had. It is just like, it's like a video game level, and it reminds me, I think you could just say like, oh, there's like a general, like, one of these people is high ranking among the Frost Giants. But this reminds me of like Justice League, where it's like, it's just fucking an army of CGI characters that I don't care about. And maybe there's like one big bad villain who I don't fucking care about. I don't know anything about him. He hasn't been established in any movies prior. Now compare that. Now here's what I'll say. Neither has the Mandarin, kind of, because Mandarin only had the 10 rings in Iron Man 1, but he didn't show up. Here's what I'll say is different, is that Mandarin is a well-respected comic book villain. People really excited. People know who he is. People want to see him. But like the Frost Giants,
so is Red Skull. I mean, I think it's ridiculous for you to say, oh yeah, it's just a mass of CGI monsters. Like, yeah, it is. But then like you're bringing a guy out of nowhere. Like, all right, there was a 10 Rings terrorist organization that had nothing to do with Mandarin, and now you're like, all right, now I've thrown Mandarin.
No, you're not. Why did it have nothing to do with Mandarin?
I mean, so, like, even if it does, he still doesn't know anybody. There's no stakes on anybody's part. It's not like anybody has any info on him. No, you missed the part of my pitch where Tony Stark says he knows who the Mandarin is, because after the events of Iron Man 1, Tony personally has a vendetta against the 10 Rings. He looked into them. He knows who the 10 Rings are. He knows, I feel like that would have been more established in Iron Man 2. Why would he spend all of Iron Man 2 doing completely separate things and not dealing with the Mandarin? Like, they don't even talk about that at all. Well, he could know who the Mandarin is without having a bead on where the Mandarin is. I feel like if those are the people he's really mad at, and he would be really mad at them, they kind of killed his friend and, committed terrorist acts. and stole his weapons, I think that he'd be a bit more invested in, wiping them off the face of the planet. But instead, he's just like, keeping his distance.
You're forgetting,
now?
You're forgetting that Tony has taken he is not as militant as he was in the first movie. He has toned down his violence. So I disagree. I don't think Tony would do that. I think he keeps a tab on it. I think he knows what the Ten Rings is up to. I think he knows who the Mandarin is, but I think it would be foolish of him to just keep tabs on a terrorist organization. Well, they haven't done anything. They haven't done it because where we left off in the terrorist organization in Iron Man 1.
Well, then how is he keeping tabs on them if they haven't done anything? Like, if they're just in hiding, how are they doing anything?
They exist. He has a rough idea of who they are, what their history has been, and and if they did anything. Don't fucking come at me like your pitch makes any fucking sense, all right? You pitched the fucking
My
Avengers
pitch definitely
movie.
does make sense. I literally just rehashed the movie we got, which did make sense. Come on.
Except you took the movie we got, except made it worse. At least mine is different.
I definitely didn't make it worse. No,
you
made it worse by removing any sort of emotional stakes at all.
How did I remove emotional stakes?
He's just a bad guy.
I've added emotional stakes because there's a tie-in with Tony and the Mandarin.
The only movie that has less emotional stakes than yours is John's because it's just a wave of CGI monsters.
I added emotional stakes because Mandarin and Tony have a past with each other. On top of that, Mandarin mind controls the Hulk, which creates.
How do they have any past with each other?
Because the Ten Rings.
Any other movies?
Oh my Lord, you are a madman.
I mean, I feel like my movie, it definitely has emotional stakes because the Frost Giants, they were a race that was nearly extinguished, and now they're trying to get revenge of the people who tried to destroy them.
This collective group of people, just are they all speaking in unison like the fucking kids down the lane or whatever? We want revenge, all of them all at once?
They killed all the named Frost Giants. What do you want me to do?
Pick someone else. That's what I wanted you to do.
You could at least make a new one. Come on.
Yeah.
You picked a character that ain't even real.
What? Mandarin? You say Mandarin's not real? I mean, fuck you, alright? He's the most popular fucking...
He definitely doesn't even exist at this point in the continuity. You've definitely pulled somebody out of nowhere. At least the Frost Giants were established in previous films.
Also, I feel
the
like
Ten Rings existed.
No consequence in
the Ten Rings existed. Mandarin had nothing to do with it.
Why would you believe it? What makes you think that they just fucking Google a name? Just Google the Ten Rings. I don't know who that is or what they're involved with. Just put that in. Ten Rings.
Well, Ten Rings can mean a lot of things. It doesn't
it's the fucking Ten Rings organization.
No connection to Mandarin in the real MCU.
That's not even true. Oh my.
I'll say, because part of the rules are you don't have to consider later films, the real Mandarin that we get is a non-factor.
Well, okay, but I'll even fucking address that. No, the real Mandarin that we get in the Hail the King short that came out after Iron Man 3 proves that the Mandarin did exist. He encounters, one of the Mandarin's servants encounters Ben Kingsley's character in prison and confirms with him that the Mandarin is an actual character. So fuck you, even
Let
in
me
the
guess,
actual
he was
canon.
on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too, huh?
No, he wasn't. In the canon, in the fucking canon of the MCU, and this isn't some fucking, YouTube short. They had fucking Ben Kingsley in this, alright? Ben Kingsley's a fucking world-renowned actor, so fuck you. They had the Mandarin confirmed existence. So even if we're not disregarding canon, the Mandarin does exist, and he's a scary motherfucker.
Yeah, but he has nothing to do with the canon.
And okay, Zero, let's just add one more thing. Your factually is incorrect. They didn't own the Tesseract. Your entire premise is flawed.
That's true, they didn't own the Tesseract.
What are you talking? No, that's how it got on Earth.
No, it's not. At least it's not confirmed.
I'm pretty sure.
I looked it up while you're doing your pitch. It says, the stone within the Tesseract... Okay. The stone within the Tesseract is a remnant of one of the 6 singularities which existed before the universe's creation. After the universe came into existence, 4 cosmic beings known as the cosmic entities forged the energies of these singularities into 6 immensely powerful objects called the Infinity Stones. The stones within the Tesseract represent the fabric of space. The Tesseract was used by various civilizations to achieve their ends. That's it. No mention, could that be the Frost Giants? Maybe, I guess, but it definitely isn't confirmed. What is confirmed is that the Frost Giants had a different weapon called the Cask of Ancients, or whatever it was called, which is not the Tesseract.
Right, but they had the Tesseract too.
What? According to what?
This is canon now.
Well,
Here's
They
what we
did.
know about the Tesseract.
No, we don't know. That's kind of the point.
In a page from Thor 1 that, examine North. You remember in the movie when Eric Selvig goes to the library and he finds a book on Nordic mythology and he opens it up and there's a picture of Odin and Thor. In that book, it describes the Bifrost Bridge and the Tesseract. It says Odin brought the Tesseract to Earth. Doesn't explain why, it just is here. So that's how it gets on Earth. Nothing to do with frost giants. So your entire premise is already flawed.
Well, why did Odin come to Earth? Frost giants. Also, just because it's in a book doesn't mean it's a fact. Like, history is written by the victors.
Fake news, come on.
They say Odin brought the Tesseract to Earth, but really it was frost giants.
And another thing another issue I had with your thing is it was all just one battle. It was basically the entire Act 3 was your entire movie. It was just one battle. They show up and that battle just persists throughout the entire movie.
A race whose planet was almost destroyed. I'm amazed how many they have left to complete a full-scale invasion of 2 worlds at the same time.
And let it be said,
if half of our population was wiped out, we would still have 3.5 billion people.
I don't think we could mount a full-scale invasion of 2 planets with 3.5 billion people, though.
Sure, we could.
I also
a lot of people.
I don't think if you're asking me, I'm Marvel, I'm Disney, I'm making the Avengers movie. You tell me, and there's gonna be a fucking fight on Asgard. All the Avengers are gonna go to Asgard. I'm like, oh, that's a little crazy. I don't think the world is ready to leave Earth at that point yet, unless with the one exception being like Thor can be on Asgard, okay, but Tony Stark cannot be on Asgard.
Sure, he can.
Well, if I'm Disney, why am I like, all right, we're going to put aside the Infinity Stones for a second and focus on these 10 rings now. I don't know what we're going to do with them, but let's just add more artifacts to our arsenal to make things more confusing.
I factored this in because the Infinity Stones, it's not like the Infinity Stones were a thing before this. It was the Infinity Stones became a thing in the Avengers movie. Before that, it was just the Tesseract, which was not confirmed to be an Infinity Stone at all. So it just wasn't a fucking issue.
Well, now these are going to be a fucking issue. Now the 10 rings have to be an issue. And it's
so
like,
what?
All right. Well, now we're all stuck on Earth. Like, there's no stakes outside of the planet because all of these rings originate from Earth. So it's like, all right, we're going to deal with these 10 rings.
Well,
and
okay.
Then what? Like,
I'm only
we're just
pitching.
There's nothing to build off.
I only pitched this one movie, but if you want me to continue it, then there is a comic book storyline in which the 10 rings all become sentient. Well, they already are sentient, but they all when they are abandoned, the Mandarin is gone, presumably dead. S.H.I.E.L.D. has all the 10 rings. The 10 rings escape, like Green Lantern rings, basically, and they all go into host bodies, basically. That would also bring in characters like, in the comics, it was like Malekith. I would need to really think about that, whether or not I want Malekith in there, but...
That's a bit much.
That happens in the comics.
Yeah, and the comics do things that are a bit ridiculous by cinema standards. Like, I don't
You're gonna
think
fucking
you can
tell me
pull...
you're telling me that it is too much for the rings to go to another place, but you want fucking
the rings to go to different places and become like sentient beings. Like,
well, do you know the origin of the rings?
No, nobody does. I don't.
The rings are people. The rings are 10 legendary ancient astral warriors that have their souls are bound to these cylinders. That's what the rings are. So they're already sentient. So let's get that out of the way. But on top of that, you're saying that's more crazy than Red Skull, the Nazi human existing in space, just going out in space, getting this scepter, working with... I assume you meant Thanos. You never clarified if that was Thanos. Just joining Thanos' army, coming back, and then wielding these astral powers and like all these things, fighting...
I don't think that's super like more crazy than anything that happened.
Last we saw
Loki
this,
literally fell off into space and then just found... Because also, it looked like he was... It looked like he was like destroyed, but it was also by the Tesseract. It makes perfect sense that he would be teleported away.
No, I agree that he was teleported, and it worked for Infinity War because we had 10 years later. It was 10 years of thinking, like, I forgot about this character. I don't give a shit about this character. This is like 4 months later, you're putting him back in a movie, and he's this fucking weird, like crazy space person.
I still think that, like, Loki, we just, like, again, there's only 6 months more between Thor and Captain America. So I don't think it's like a huge leap to be like, oh well, now he's like all.
But the thing is, you're
like
taking
he's back again.
All
Jeez,
that Loki had to do was go from one space guy to another space guy. You were taking the Red Skull, which was a human, and making
really
him into a
guys,
space
though,
guy.
because they're definitely presented as mythological. Now I know the whole point was like, oh, science and magic are the same thing here, but it definitely wasn't like, hey, these are like space guys. Like that was not a theme they were hitting on.
You don't think the Asgardians count as space guys? They travel between planets.
That's not the impression they were giving in the movie. They weren't like, hey, these are aliens. Like, they all looked like people. That's why they were like, oh, these are gods. Like, that was kind of the point. They were like, all right, these guys are similar.
I don't even know what you're talking about anymore, Kaiser. All right, Zero, do you have any closing fucking arguments?
Yeah, out of all three of these movies, I would like to see mine the most.
I disagree. Because you know what else? You know what else happens? I think, and this isn't. I don't think this is a huge point, but I think this is a point because we had to disregard future canon, so it's not a huge point. But I do think it's worth noting that no one gives a shit about the Frost Giants, and we do eventually get Red Skull back, and even then, no one really gives a shit about Red Skull. So, but the only one
he was in the movie for like 10 seconds.
But the only one who pitched a character that like people actually
comes
want
back, and half the people hated that movie. They were like, "This is awful."
They hated that movie because it wasn't the Mandarin.
Part of that group.
They hated the movie because it wasn't the Mandarin. I am giving them the Mandarin.
But I mean, no one really cares about the Mandarin.
That's
people
bullshit.
only care about the Mandarin
Zero.
Because he was done poorly.
We've had so I love doing it good.
In your movie, he wouldn't have been done poorly, so no one would have cared about him.
Let me pull up some fucking statistics for you. All right.
I think in your movie, it's like, all right, we're gonna bring in Mandarin now, which I think is like the reverse problem that I might have.
In 2009, in 2009, the Mandarin was ranked as IGN's 81. 80. I don't know how do you pluralize. 81st greatest comic book villain of all time. Not greatest Marvel villain. Not greatest fucking whatever. The greatest comic book villain of all time.
81st. Where was Red Skull?
Well, that's not irrelevant to my argument.
Yeah, it's relevant to my argument.
I'm not saying that Red Skull is a bad villain. I'm saying that you are using him in a bad way.
No, I definitely don't. I think everything that happens with him is plausible. I think that he comes back doing what he normally does, and so I think everything totally adds up. I think that his character works in there. I think it adds emotional stakes for Captain America, and I think that it works fine.
But loses emotional stakes.
It only works
for Thor.
with the context of how Thanos acts in Infinity War. Like, without that established idea of like Thanos actually does train people.
But this establishes that idea. It also establishes Baron von Strucker, who will show up later. It shows up this thing with S.H.I.E.L.D., which shows up later. It establishes a lot of things better than the Avengers did. So I have a better base for my canon. I also think that, yeah, all right, maybe not as much emotional stakes as the Avengers we have, but I definitely have more emotional stakes than both of your movies.
I disagree. I think that's going to close it
completely.
I think that's going to close it out for our pitches.
Okay.
This is going to have to just be settled with the comments.
Yeah, we don't have like a judge or anything.
Someone, if you watch this video, post a comment with who you think has the best pitch. This has been a 2.5 hour long podcast. I was supposed to go to sleep
at today, boys.
I was going to go to sleep at 10 p.m. It is 1 a.m. I'm very tired.
All right. Let's call
it. All right, boy.
All right. Oh, shit. Let me do the outro. I just close. Okay, hold on 1 second. Quick, someone just pretend to be having a conversation. Just like say stuff.
So yeah, Hoodie and Kaiser Drool.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's MCU Ranked review. If you're watching this as it goes out public on YouTube, then you can be watching next week's episode right now by heading over to patreon.com/KWIT. Otherwise, we will be back again next week with Iron Man 3.
Bye-bye.